Let me bring myself to the stage, take down this iconic intro. So you see the virtual tour background and you hear our legendary music, and then there is me. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Glad to have you here. Literally, I was at work and saw this article about Carlos Watson, and literally, I just thought, why not talk about it? So welcome in. Glad to have you here. So there's going to be a lot of setup before we get into the lawsuit. I actually do have the court documents. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of trending. I'm going to be doing a little Pam Esquire tonight. A little bit of Mims, make it make sense as well. So with that being said, and here we go. So before we get started with, the lawsuit, everything else, you kind of need to know what is Ozy, right? So let me get the screen ready here. And I did put all of these links in the chats, well, not the chat, but in the description box, so that way everybody will know. But yeah, let me get it up here for y'all. All right, here we go. All right, let me make sure the music is toned down enough because I want y'all to be able to hear everything that I'm saying tonight. And there is a tie to me in this, so just wait for it. But yeah, here we go.
Carlos Watson making an impact of his own, the co-founder and editor of Ozy.com.
Where do you see yourself now? That's what I ask myself.
When you get dropped from a record company, all the other labels are like, all right, well, something's wrong.
Welcome to day 2 of Ozy Fest.
It's hard to work through trauma publicly.
New York, God bless.
We have to reclaim ourselves, reclaim the power of who we just are.
I mean, our diversity is one of our strongest assets.
If we're going to be a country that is united, we can have big debates.
You better hop on board.
So for those of you who may not know what Ozy is, it is a media company founded by the person that you saw on the thumbnail, Carlos Watson. So Ozy Media is about finding those stories that don't get a lot of play and a lot of sunlight in the daytime of mainstream media. So this is the Ozy website here. So this is the actual website. So they have done many TV shows. So they've done PBS here. They have done a show with OWN called Black Women Own the Conversation. They've worked with Hulu. They worked with History, A&E, the Carlos Watson Show. We'll talk about the Carlos Watson Show here in just a minute because there was a lot of history with the Carlos Watson Show. So this is their website here. This is the TV side. Then they had different podcasts here. Now Katie K is on Morning Joe on MSNBC, but she joined Ozy Media until the thing that happened to Ozy Media. And then you have newsletters here. So this is there, and then Ozy Fest here is a festival where basically it was like Coachella met TED conference, right? So you're probably wondering, well, Braylon, what is the Carlos Watson Show? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let me show y'all this now. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the breakout show of 2020.
What's going on? This is Swiss Beats, and you're watching the Carlos Watson Show.
The fastest growing talk show in YouTube history. Over 100 million viewers total.
Carlos Watson Show.
Oh, look at that. Oprah, Larry, Carlos.
Season 2 is going to be loaded with good stuff.
Hey, Nikki News, welcome in.
Bill Gates, we got Cardi B, we got Kathy Griffin, we got Sweetie, we got Lamorne Morris, we got Deepak Chopra. Hey, John, good to see you. Thanks again for joining me.
It's my pleasure.
Padma, it's so nice to see you again.
I'm excited to do the show.
Thank you. Thank
you. Welcome to your show too.
This was too much fun.
You always approach everything and everybody with like a freshness.
Come on, bring it.
Oh, bring it on. Okay, I will. Your favorite basketball player?
Steph Curry, all the way for sure. Throws it up like it was nothing, and it just swish, nothing but net.
What have you learned on questions of race?
We've got to reform that relationship between the police and these communities is often not very functional.
What have you learned about love?
Wow.
My bully just got elected president of the United States, and how's that going to shake out?
I think you're really going to like it.
You're fantastic, and your show is great, and that's why you're doing so well.
You're good. I didn't plan to go in some places that I went.
I'm enjoying you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, tune into the Carlos Watson Show. It's like no other. You're going to enjoy it every weekday on YouTube.
So you guys now know the CEO and things of that nature. So there was a call, right? So basically, media company co-founder of Ozy pretended to be a top YouTube executive in a conference call with Goldman Sachs, report by the New York Times. The call was made in February and was regarding a $40 million Goldman Sachs investment into Ozy. New York Times also wrote that Ozy had been padding its traffic stats while raising millions. So a co-founder of media company Ozy allegedly impersonated a top YouTube executive in an investor call with Goldman Sachs, according to a report by the New York Times media columnist Ben Smith, published Sunday. Ozy operates as a multimedia company, which includes a website, podcast, brand, several newsletters, and a festival. In February, 4 Goldman Sachs investors were slated to speak with Ozy founder Carlos Watson and Alex Piper, the head of unscripted programming for YouTube Originals, per investigation by Smith. The company was gearing up to close a $40 million investment deal with Goldman Sachs. At the time, Piper was looped in to testify about Ozy's success. However, right before their Zoom meetings, Piper told investors that he was having technical issues and suggested they moved to a conference call instead, reports Smith. During the conference call, Piper spoke glowingly about Ozy and his traffic, but investors noticed that his voice sounded strange and might have been digitally altered, wrote the Times. Someone from Goldman Sachs team later reached out independently to Piper's assistant at YouTube, and the confused executive told her that they have never spoken to each other before, per the Times. The Alex Piper they heard on the conference call, the investors realized, had been an impersonator. YouTube security team launched an investigation. Several days later, Ozy founder Watson came forward to say the voice had been Samir Rao, Ozy's co-founder, chief operating officer, reported the Times. Watson said the impersonation incident was due to Rao's mental health crisis and told the New York Times details of the diagnosis. The Times did not elaborate on what the diagnosis was. He also said that Rao had taken time off work and was back at Ozy when the Times report was published, wrote Smith. So, you know how like when you apply for a job and they tell you, make sure that you're saying everything and anything or your application is correct, because if you don't, you can be held liable for, lying. That's basically what this was. So how people go on Shark Tank and go to venture capitalists, you have to be real about all of your numbers. And so somebody impersonate a YouTube executive to be able to bolster the credibility of Ozy Media. Just to give a synopsis, Samir is a valued colleague and a close friend, said Watson. I'm proud that we stood by him while he struggled. We are glad to see him thrive again. Ozy board said the incident was an unfortunate one-time event and fully supported the way it was handled, according to the report. Goldman Sachs did not take further action after this. Google, which owns YouTube, had a security team look into the matter. It found that a crime may be committed and was in contact with the FBI, unnamed sources told the Times. The FBI did not independently confirm to the Times that it was investigating the incident. However, the Times report also highlights discrepancies between Ozy's self-report traffic reports and what independent sources said. In 2019, Ozy claimed it had 50 million monthly unique users. However, public analytics do not comport or compute with that claim. For instance, independent analytics company Comscore estimates that Ozy reached around 2.5 million a month in 2018, which means that the company had grown its traffic 20 times in 1 year. In response, Watson told the Times that the ComScore numbers were incomplete and did not include numbers from social media, television, or podcasts. The report also cited several industry experts who cast doubt on Ozy's number, with one Ozy ex-employee calling the company a Pokemon village, a facade that conceals a true and less desirable identity. Full disclosure, Axel Springer, which was the majority stake owner of Insider Inc., invested in Ozy in 2014. Ozy and Alex Piper did not immediately respond to Insider's requests for comment. So, there was a thing called the Ozy Genius Awards, okay? So I'm going to show you guys that, okay? So let me rewind here, show this tab to y'all. Here.
You have what it takes to become the next Ava DuVernay, the next Bill Gates, maybe the next Oprah Winfrey. Well, here at Ozy, guess what? We want to help you launch your own dream journey. We call it the Ozy Genius Awards. Now we're launching a new season of this terrific scholarship in hopes of providing 10 new college students all across the country with up to $10,000 each to help bring their big ideas to life. Some of the greatest inventions and brightest geniuses, they broke through because they had an angel behind them. We want to be that angel for the geniuses of tomorrow. Now, Amanda Gorman, who rocketed to national acclaim after performing her wonderful poems both at the inauguration and later at the Super Bowl, she was a recipient of the Ozy Genius Awards just 5 short years ago.
The Ozy Genius Award catapulted me to success. To be able to go to Silicon Valley from where I'm from was just an amazing dream come true.
The Ozy Genius Awards allowed me to tell my story on a larger platform. I had this big dream and knew that I needed to start somewhere.
To receive the Ozy Genius Award was just an incredible token of support. Young people have a ton of potential and capacity for making change.
So we invite you to share your biggest and boldest ideas, and we'll help give them wings. Because supporting your brightest idea today will unlock a brighter future for all of us tomorrow. Let's go do it.
Bring the action.
So, very cool program, right? Very cool program. Well, and by the way, that was brought to you by 18 Dream in Black. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on. Let's pause this. Let's pause it. So I'm going to full this up for y'all. So as you can see, you can engage with Ozy through Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Ozy newsletters. We rival Axios, Skim, Morning Brew. You got the morning presidential daily brief, afternoon daily dose, weekender, Sunday magazine. Ozy Fest, TED meets Coachella. Past speakers and performers include Trevor Noah, Chelsea Handler, Tig Notaro, John Leslie, Issa Rae, Pana Lashmi, Malcolm Gladwell, Alex Rodriguez. Ozy Podcast has five plus podcasts that cracked the top 100. The Thread, Flashback of the Future of X, and then Ozy TV, The Carlos Watson Show, Sneaker Friends, Defined Moments, The Contenders, Rick Ross, Car and Bike Show, Hulu Prime, and YouTube. So here is this. Y'all ready? So remember, we just talked about that. So here is this. Ozy Media sips Genius Award recipients out of $10,000 grants following Carlos Watson arrest. Keep following. Ozy Media has stiffed a dozen college students out of their $10,000 Genius Awards after the Troubles news site disgraced founder Carlos Watson was arrested on federal fraud charges, the Post has learned. The ambitious students, one of them being a budding TikTok influencer, others aspiring educators and tech entrepreneurs, have been caught in the stunning implosion of Ozy Media, which boasted high-profile backers, including billionaire Mark Lassery and Laurene Powell Jobs, only to face federal scrutiny over shady business practices. They launched the Genius Awards in 2015. Past recipients include Amanda Gorman, a former national youth poet, Lafayette, who gained national prominence in 2021 after she recited her original poem, The Hill We Climb, at President Biden's inauguration. The latest recipients were told in December that Ozy will provide them with months of funding, expert mentorship, and free publicity for their stars to help them realize their dreams. Instead, two students told the Post that Ozy Media has cut off all contact since mid-March, days after Watson was arrested, allegedly biking investors out $50 million, leaving them without any funding for their budding projects and a hole in their resume instead. The third student who spoke to the New York Post, which is where the story comes from, in the condition of anonymity, confirmed their accounts. The program's presenting sponsor, AT&T, has been silent on the situation. It's been honestly such a roller coaster. Yusuf Harash, a 2023 Genius Award winner and 21-year-old junior. Oops, sorry, I was trying to get the other article for y'all there. Sorry there. Okay. Might check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Ozy Media's reputation went up in flames after a series of damning reports by the New York Times and other outlets that late 2021, including one that revealed a top Ozy Media official had been bizarrely impersonated a YouTube executive while seeking to secure investment from Goldman Sachs. The collapse accelerated in February when feds accused Watson of running the once high-flying startup like a criminal organization, attempting to bilk investors out millions of dollars. I took a selfie with Carlos. I loved him when I met him. Said, Hawash, I think some of the most charismatic people cannot have the best intentions. I don't think this is a relationship that can be recovered. Watson, who faces 37 years in prison, was accused of attempting to trick a prospective investor by faking a $600 million takeover for Ozy. I told y'all this was going to get deep, among other alleged misdeeds. Harash, meanwhile, had planned to use the funds he wanted to launch a student-led scholarship advocacy program for low-income high school students. When our junior year internship was supposed to be the biggest internship on our resume, biggest job opportunity so far on our CV. A CV is basically a more of an upscale professional resume. A lot of us will end up working part-time jobs or barely finding funds to support ourselves this summer, which is absolutely devastating. At Hawash, who has amassed more than 100,000 followers on TikTok, where he shares educate-related advice to students, say they last heard from Ozy mid-March, where Beverly Watson, Carlos' sister, the managing editor, told them the company was forced by the circumstances to suspend its operations, according to the email obtained by the Post. Beverly Watson did not have any firm answers about the Genius program's future, sitting unless she provided another update by the end of March. That said, you should find additional opportunities for financing your summer. Please do explore them, Watson told Hawash in a March 16th email. A day later, an attorney representing Ozy emailed at least one steward to say that prosecutors had off operations and eliminate all income by taking action against the company. The attorney added that Ozy's caretakers were making efforts to recover any assets to make a distribution to creditors, but never followed up. This year's Genius Awards were being offered in partnership with AT&T and its Dream in Black campaign, give special emphasis to students attending historical Black colleges and universities, according to a press release. Last summer, an AT&T spokesperson said that the company was extremely disappointed to learn that the winners of the Ozy Genius Awards were affected by the shutdown of Ozy Media. We want to make sure that these students receive the stipends they were promised, and we're looking into this to see what we can do. We'll reach for comment. Kenneth Montgomery, a lawyer representing Ozy Media, the Watson family, in the upcoming fraud trial, blamed the company's inability to follow through on pledging on its funding pledge in the federal indictment, which targeted Watson as an individual, the company itself. The fact that these students have been deprived of funding for their college education is a collateral consequence of the government's unprecedented prosecution of Ozy Media, one of the only Black-owned media companies in Silicon Valley, said in a statement to the Post. The unwarranted criminal charges brought the company to a complete standstill and forced the secession of operations. Montgomery added, the Watson family firmly believes in making higher education accessible for all, which is why they co-founded the Achieva College Prep service well before Mr. Watson founded Ozy. It says here, any people or entities who have valid claims against the company dissolution process will be eligible to submit their claims. Ozy first contacted this year's group of winners last December and immediately began a promotional campaign for the Genius program. All 12 winners filmed clips for the Carlos Watson Show, which is still available on YouTube and Twitter. Students received a rough timeline of how the program will proceed. One-on-one meetings with Ozy staff were set up for February, a connection to professional mentor for May. The period of June 21st through September 22nd was slated for project implementation, with a final showcase of the winners' completed work scheduled for September 29th. Ozy said the students were eligible for project funds up to $10,000, which will be delivered in 3 transits beginning in June. Hawash said he and other students were a little confused when most February came and went without follow-up from Ozy Media. Instead of an update, the students were blindsided of Watson's arrest. I Googled Ozy Media just to see what was up, and that's when I saw they were actually under investigation. Myron Loss, a 21-year-old senior at Berkeley College of Music in Massachusetts. I was like, wow, well, all that happened. This literally came out of left field without any guys from Ozy Media. The students are now left with no choice but to seek other sources of projects for their support for their projects or abandon them entirely. So, as you can see, this is a very, very deep story. And I did say that this had a tie to it. So, pause. So I'm going to bring it back to this.
It's January 20th, 2021, Inauguration Day in America. Welcome to this special live edition of the Carlos Watson Show. Now, hours ago, as you all know, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were sworn in as president and vice president, respectively, of these United States. But in the days and weeks leading up to this historic moment, the country has seemed anything but united. From the contentious election to controversies over the release of the COVID-19 vaccine to obviously even the breach of the Capitol building in D.C., our new administration has got a lot of work to do if it's really going to bridge the gap between blue and red, black and white, haves and have-nots, you name it. There's a lot of work to be done. It's a pivotal time for our nation, and over the course of the next hour, we're going to engage in what I hope will really be a bold, fresh, and different kind of conversation. We're going to talk to people from a variety of parties. We'll talk to some of the best thought leaders in the country. We'll talk to interesting celebrities on the topic. We'll talk to everyday people, not only about where the country has come from, but maybe more importantly, where we're headed. Most importantly, though, I hope you'll join us. I hope you'll join us in the comments. Hope you'll share questions on social media. Thank you again for being here for our inauguration after show as we engage in what we're calling the people's conversation and reflect on how we might all join together to help reset America. All right, today may just be the first.
So that was the intro. Now, what I'm about to do is I'm about to give y'all a little something because, you know, you know, a lot of people think they know Braylon, but I want y'all to just watch this, okay? Just tell me if you see anybody you know.
I know you mentioned criminal justice reform, and maybe that's it, but if not, what would be the number one topic that you would love to see them work on with Republicans in 2021?
Utah Senator Lee and Coons out of Delaware have a bill that will help states move away from taking away your driver's license because you haven't paid your parking tickets or speeding fines. 8 states have now done that. I think that's something that could move nationally with bipartisan support. And Neil of Massachusetts has a bill that would make it easier for people to start 401ks and IRAs for smaller businesses. We'll get millions more Americans. One of the challenges with the wealth gap is that Social Security is pretend savings. Nobody gets any wealth when Social Security taxes are taken away. You put money in a 401k or an IRA, you build wealth for your family and for your future. So making that available to more small businesses, that has bipartisan support as well. Biden's got a bill that goes the other direction, but the Congress, I think, would be very happy with Neil's bill, and I think Republicans would as well.
Francesca Paletta, Grover Norquist, John Ford, thank you all for joining me today. I hope you guys will come back. It'll be interesting to see where we are 100 days in. I hope for all of us that we're all in a better place, including the vaccine being more effectively rolled out. Thank you to all three of you for joining. All right, let's extend the conversation on the new administration's first 100 days by welcoming a few Ozy subscribers, not those who voted for President Trump, as we talked to at the beginning of the conversation, nor those who didn't vote for Trump or Biden. But this time around, I want to talk to people who did indeed vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's right, our viewers join the conversation now. Tanisha Matthews, Hunter Griffin, and Braylon Lee, welcome to the show. Good to see all of you.
Look at that. Look at that. Who is that?
Let's start with you. Where in this wonderful country are you today?
I am in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. So Georgia's been doing a lot of work. You guys have been busy. You guys didn't go to sleep after November. I could guess, Tanisha, but I want to put it in your words. Give me 30 seconds. How are you feeling today on this day of inauguration?
Oh my goodness. Today, it was very heartfelt. You know, I feel inspired by Biden and Kamala. You know, just everything, just looking forward from everything that we've been through over the last 4 years. And, you know, it's just been surreal for me being an African American woman. It's just seeing firsthand just the hate and everything that has transpired. But I'm very optimistic, you know, about everything moving forward. You know, I just want to see this country unified and us just getting back to some type of normalcy of being decent and respecting each other.
Me and her are still friends to this day on Instagram. She's a lovely, lovely person.
Hunter, where are you right now as we speak? Where in the country are you?
Hi, Carlos. Thanks for having me. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona this afternoon.
So we focus on swing state people here today. So you and Tanisha both are responsible for part of that Biden victory. Hunter, what are you seeing there in Arizona, which was another tight race decided by only a few thousand votes? Is there optimism? Is there frustration? Does it feel divided when I know we obviously are kind of all being a little bit COVID restrictive, but what are you feeling there in Phoenix, Arizona?
Here in Arizona, when it comes to COVID, we've been pretty relaxed about that. That's just our libertarian leanings. Really, the thing to pay attention to is our GOP at the state level. We're starting to see a lot of the infighting and a lot of the questions of which direction are we going to go in as a party. So watching the Republican Party there and kind of their talking points is going to be pretty interesting as far as moving forward.
And Braylon, where are you as we speak right now?
Well, I am in Kent, Ohio, but before I say my answer, I just want to say to Ali and Robert and to you, thank you guys for your kindness, your graciousness, and everything. I know I don't have to be here, so the fact that I'm even here, I definitely appreciate it. So.
You were kind to say that. You were kind to be here, and we're lucky to have you. So thank you for joining us today. I'm an Ohio native. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. So there you go. There you go. Braylon, so where is your head and where is your heart right now? What would make you feel good about Biden's first 100 days or his first year? What would tell you that things were on track?
I always say planning is one thing, execution is another. So I think the planning, the execution, and the engagement, I think those are going to be the three things that are going to really tell me that they're moving forward, because you can have an administration that does a lot of things, but if you're not engaging with the people that are going to be affected by the things that you do, it's not going to work. I have a quote that says, anybody gift a present to entertain you, it takes somebody to be a gift to bless you. So we have to get past being entertaining in these temporary gifts and get to the point of being a gift where when we give something to somebody, actually blesses them, not just for a moment, but for the actual experience of their life. So,
Tanisha, let me ask you about President Biden. You know, one of our early contributors pointed out that he's extremely experienced, which was French for he's a little bit older than
So I'm gonna pause it for a minute because, you know, I want y'all to know that side of me. And when I got looped into Ozy Media, I was really excited to be on the show because, you know, I think we all watched the inauguration, and to have a voice in the conversation about the future of where we could go as a country was great. I did not know that any of this was going on, but I wanted to show that I've been out here for a very long time. So just wanted to do that. So as we go back to the video, and trust there is more to come, because we're also going to be breaking down the lawsuit that was filed today.
Many of our presidents, the oldest ever elected president, 78 years old. Obviously, the Speaker of the House is in her 80s. The Leader of the Senate is in his 70s. Much of the Supreme Court is in their 70s and 80s. Is there any part of you that, even though you voted for Biden, has some concern about his ability to handle such a rigorous, aggressive job? I mean, you saw Bill Clinton today, who's younger than Biden, kind of taking a nap, you know, in the middle of inauguration. And so, you know, it's a real thing. Is there any of you that's got any hesitations when it comes to the new president?
I would say I have faith in him because he does have the experience. You know, he's been on the Hill for many years, I would say, and it's a lot of, you know, individuals around him that can assist him and help him with plans moving forward. But, you know, I would say a lot of the individuals there are kind of on the older side. So it would be nice, I guess, sometime in the future to see younger individuals there, you know, who have more ideas, you know, moving forward, I would say, yes.
Well, Tanisha, Hunter, and Braylon, I'm going to let all of you go, but I'm very appreciative of your time. What an important conversation. I hope that you will stay in touch. And I may ask you to come back 100 days in, because we may do a 100-day check-in, and we may see where the new president, the new vice president are then. Thank you all, Braylon, Tanisha, Hunter. Be well, be safe. Have a good January.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Carlos.
All right, right now it's time
So,
for another Ozy check-in.
So I wanted to play that to show y'all that I've been out here. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I've been a little bit everywhere. I've been on Nickelodeon. I was on Steve on Watch. I said goodbye to Mary on We TV. Got to do a radio show at 10:50 a.m. KJBN. So I've been a little bit of everywhere. And I wanted to show y'all that I've been out here. Now, with that being said, so that was the Carlos Watson show. It was a special edition of the Carlos Watson show. So I'm going to share some clips now from CNBC, and then we're going to get into Roland Martin as well. So here is this clip here.
Carlos Watson arrested in New York City. It happened about an hour after Squawk Box went off the air in the morning after 9. Watson facing now charges of conspiracy to commit securities fraud, wire fraud, and aggravated identity theft for his role in the impersonation of multiple media executives while in talks with investors. Soon after the arrest, the SEC charged Watson as well with defrauding investors of approximately $50 million. Watson appeared on this program back in October of 21 following reports of misleading information in that infamous call with Goldman Sachs, which was considering an investment at the time, and apparently used some kind of voice machine to have one of his colleagues pretend to be a YouTube executive, claiming they had a deal. It appears that all the numbers that were in the decks, at least allegedly, were falsified. They were changing the numbers constantly.
And the whole
thing.
They would buy ads saying,
"Oh, well, that was yes." Well, that's not even in the complaints, though. That's just
that's just. But they would buy ads that say Ozy Media is the greatest, and then whatever publication they bought the ads in, they'd say, "This publication says Ozy Media is."
Right. Then they'd run another ad.
Yeah.
Saying the LA Times says
Ozy,
this is the greatest thing.
Because they bought net.
So there is that clip there. The next clip I'm gonna show y'all is actually Ben Smith. So Ben Smith is a media reporter, and he is also being charged with a lawsuit. So here we go with this clip here. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We are live on tour. Normally I don't go live on Thursdays, but the lawsuit came out today. I thought, why not talk about it? So here we go.
Joining us right now is Semaphor's co-founder and editor-in-chief Ben Smith, who broke that story about Carlos Watson back in the fall of 2021 as a media columnist for the New York Times. It rocked the media universe at the time. And Ben, I'm curious if in the moment that you were reporting that then, you thought that today or yesterday would happen.
You know, honestly, I did. I mean, I think, that great interview, Carlos says that he thought it was just sloppy and stupid, and it is very hard to convict people, notoriously hard, of securities fraud. but this was so obviously illegal. And the FBI and YouTube and Google and Goldman Sachs were already talking to the FBI at that time. I'm sure the media coverage, encouraged prosecutors, as it always does, but it was very hard to see how they were going to get away with that.
One of the most fascinating aspects of just reading these stories in the past 24 hours was the idea that two of his colleagues effectively pled guilty just a couple of days ago as John Does. So people didn't even know it was happening, except a reporter at the Wall Street Journal apparently sat in and watched this happen. And it sounds like Carlos Watson didn't know it was happening at the same time.
Yeah, just great courthouse reporting from the Journal, Steve. It's real value.
So I'm going to be pausing it just in between. So Ben Smith here is in the lawsuit with Carlos Watson. And so Ben Smith used to work for BuzzFeed. And there was a point in time where Ozy Media could have been bought by BuzzFeed. So that's to give you context on who Ben Smith is. Let's keep going.
And just having somebody sitting there in the Eastern District, kind of waiting to see who comes through, right?
Is your sense that this was spurred by Goldman Sachs initially? Your reporting early on was about this now infamous phone call where either Carlos Watson or it now sounds like his colleague pretended to be a YouTube executive claiming that they had a special distribution deal with YouTube when in fact they didn't. And they pretended that they were working at YouTube. How much of this do you think was instigated because of that phone call?
That phone call is certainly what opened it up. It was actually YouTube, not Goldman. The Google security team, I think, initially contacted the FBI. But to me, actually, one of the most amazing things, this isn't really in the reporting, but the way I first heard of this story was a source who was not an executive at any of these institutions. A number of very serious investors, people who watch it appear on this show, had invested in the company, had vouched for Carlos Watson. And the person who tipped me to it was a random outsider who had kind of wandered through the picture at one point and said, "This is crazy, this makes no sense." And it was kind of an emperor has no clothes thing, that they were able to get this far essentially by starting with Laurene Powell Jobs, having a series of very high profile people kind of vouch for them in a way that the next sucker looked and said, "Look at this group of people. This must be legit."
That's what I was going to ask you. How do you think? Is this another? We've talked about Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX and the idea that there's so many venture capitalists who just seem to glom onto this thing that now has this obviously imploded. Why do you think so many? Is this just a situation of sheep? They look at one famous investor and say, "I want to be part of that." What do you? I think
it's two things. It is two things. Certainly, part of it is, well, look, if these guys are investing, it must be okay. The second, though, is that, and I think the indictment called him a con man, and what con men, are great at is sort of reflecting back at people what they want. And when this thing launched in 2014, what it was pitching was a youth-focused media company that wasn't this kind of divisive AOC progressivism, wasn't anything far right. It was like kind of billionaire-friendly centrism, and that's what young people really want.
So basically, if you think about like Channel 1 News, that came on your TV.
And that was a very appealing idea. When the politics changed in the summer of 2020.
So if you think about like Channel 1 News, like I was saying, how it came on your TV, I remember this in, I think it was high school, when it came on for 15 minutes, and it was just youth news. That's pretty much what Ozy Media was.
It was pitching itself as a Black-led media company committed to social justice and progressive causes, and its identity would sort of shift with the moment, but really very pitched toward what rich people and investors thought media ought to be like, which is kind of how they managed to pull this off for so long. When if you ask any consumer, anybody in media, nobody had ever seen this thing in the wild, and that's what's so amazing, actually.
So that's Ben Smith there. Now, you are going to get to hear now from the Carlos Watson on the scandals. So here we go. Like I said, I'm giving you guys such a deep dive into this because I really do believe that this story is a story that needs to be told. Like I said, I was a part of the Carlos Watson conversation after the inauguration. And I want to show that because a lot of people think that, oh, I'm known for the sector of Love and Marriage Huntsville. While that is true, I've been in media for a very, very long time, so I want to give a deep dive to this for many reasons. One, it is a cultural story. Number two, it is better for us to cover it than for the white establishment or mainstream to cover it and leave out details. But also, two, I think that, and I truly say this with all sincerity, is that we need the disruptors to come to the forefront and showcase rather the hidden threads that are not being connected. So welcome and glad to have you all here. Here is the Carlos Watson speaking on Squawk Box, a morning show on CNBC.
Because I think were so many questions raised by the reporting that was in the New York Times last week, plus lots of other reporting in other places. And let's just say this, lots of Ozy was real. I just want to say that out loud, which is to say the newsletters exist, the festival exists, the advertising exists, you've won an Emmy, that exists. But I think there's other questions about whether the numbers were inflated. We heard about this phone call between your co-founder and Goldman Sachs, apparently impersonating somebody from YouTube. We talked about the advertising that suggested that said one thing, but the quotes didn't necessarily come from where they said they were coming from. I think we need to just try, to the extent that you can clear the air or explain it.
Sure.
Let's do that. Sure. Let's start with this phone call, though, because that's what sort of set this whole thing off. Your co-founder had a phone call with Goldman Sachs as you were trying to raise money and effectively took them off of a Zoom and then apparently started to impersonate with a fake email address as well, somebody from YouTube. What happened?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I do know that I got a call from the YouTube folks after it, saying something strange had happened, and we figured out what happened. I immediately called back to the folks at Goldman right away, not 4 days later, as I think someone wrote at one point. And look, it's heartbreaking. It was wrong. It's not good. It's not okay. I love Goldman. I work there. I've got a lot of friends there. To this day, several months afterwards, I'm grateful to them that, we formed a new advertising partnership. And so, hopefully there was some sense of trust regained, but there's no doubt about it that was not okay. And that fractured a lot of trust, not just there, but obviously you saw what happened in a very tumultuous week last week.
But part of what was happening in that instance, from what I understand, is you had represented and the company had represented at one point that your show was going to appear originally on A&E. By the way, represented to me because I appeared on your show. And when I first got that email from the producer, it said this show was going to be on A&E with 95 million households. And I remember sitting down actually when I was about to do your show, and I said to the producer in the ear, I said, by the way, when does this air? Thinking it airs on A&E. And she said something like, well, we're really leaning in hard to online media. This is actually a YouTube original. But what it now appears like is actually it wasn't a YouTube original either. And in fact, that was...
So for those of you who are wondering about YouTube originals, there was a thing called YouTube Red. Let me pull up YouTube Red. Okay, I just want y'all to get the context here because context is everything here, okay? So originally this was called YouTube Red. So basically YouTube Red was designed to provide ad-free streaming to all videos rather than just music content. This shift required YouTube to seek permission from its content creators and right holders to allow their content to be a part of the ad-free service. Under the new contract terms, partners will receive a share of the total revenue from YouTube Red subscriptions as determined by how much their content is viewed by subscribers. YouTube also sought to compete against sites such as Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Hulu by offering original content, YouTube originals, as a part of their subscription services. The subscription service leveraging prominent YouTube personalities in a combination with professional producers. Robert Koeneke acknowledged that many of YouTube's prominent personalities have built their followings and create content while operating on a shoestring budget. That basically means wherever you can find is what you had. But he maintained in order to scale it up, it takes a different kind of enterprise, takes a different kind of skill sets such as storytelling and show running. Prominent YouTube personality PewDiePie was involved in one of the planned originals for the service, explained that the service was meant to mitigate profit loss from the use of ad blocking. So there were many YouTube originals. So we're gonna go to here, and so they had dramas here, they had comedies, they had adult animation, anime, kids and family, they had unscripted content, their reality content as well, and then they had non-English language. So that's what Carlos. So that's what the host meant by YouTube original. So I just wanted to give that context to y'all. Back to the video.
Somewhat of what the discussion or the issue was with Goldman Sachs, that you were uploading these videos to YouTube, but a YouTube original is something where you say they've effectively commissioned the program.
So lots of miscommunication in that, but I want to clarify that one because I think that was definitely one where we lost a lot of trust. We originally conceived the show with A&E. You've seen the announcements that we have a partnership with them, a multi-year partnership. We've done shows on A&E, on their sister network, History Channel, on Lifetime Channel, did good things. And originally during the summer, the conversation was with them. We created a sizzle reel together. We talked about which guests and things like that. And as the summer moved on, we realized that they were on a different timetable than we were, and so we shifted to YouTube. Now, in the back of our mind, we thought there still could be an opportunity for us to come back to them, but we clearly shifted to YouTube. I know that for you and for a number of other people, you got emails on that was wrong. I don't know whether that was a mistake or whether that was intentional, but whatever it is, that was wrong.
But the executive producer that you hired believed that he was making a show for A&E, and in fact, suggested on the record in the New York Times this week or last week that the show, that every time he was told that he wanted to call someone at A&E, he was told effectively not to.
I don't know about that, but I have to say this. I made a really bad decision last week, and I didn't respond to your text. I didn't respond to texts of lots of other people I know, and I wish I had engaged with the media, had good conversations, because I felt like after that piece, it was kind of like open season for people to throw whatever crazy half-truth and put it out there. Now, to be really clear, some of the things that came out last week were mistakes that we made, and I know that we'll talk about those too, but that's a good example of one that I think that's true. That same producer you're talking about is the same producer who's texted me multiple times since then with multiple exclamation points saying, congratulations on the show bringing Matt Damon on. Congratulations on the show now appearing on Amazon Prime. So, look, there's no doubt about it that last summer, as the show started, we originally hoped that we were going to do it with A&E, and it ended up shifting to YouTube. And I am sure that we did not communicate that well, and I own that, and that's a mistake.
So there is a deeper interview on CNBC with Carlos Watson. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get that interview because you do have to pay for that. Now, we're going to go to the Today Show. You probably want to know why the Today Show. Well, there was a interview with Carlos Watson on the Today Show. So let me switch to this tab here.
Watson, Ozy Media's CEO. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good to see you.
CEO, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Thanks for coming in. Joining us now exclusively, Carlos Watson, Ozy Media's CEO. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Thanks for coming in. Let's start with the status of Ozy as we sit right now. Reports that the company shut down on Friday. Is that true? Has the company shut down, or are you still open for business?
We're going to open for business. So we're making news today. This is our Lazarus moment, if you will. This is our Tylenol moment. Last week was traumatic. It was difficult, heartbreaking in many ways. And at the end of the week, we did suspend operations with a plan to wind down. But as we spent time over the weekend, we talked to advertising partners. We talked to some of our readers, some of our viewers, our listeners, our investors. I think Ozy's is part of this moment, and it's not going to be easy. But I think what we do with newsletters, what we do with TV shows, original TV shows, podcasts, and more, I think has a place.
Let's talk about this phone call. I mean, did you know that your partner, the co-founder of this company, was going to impersonate a YouTube executive on a call?
Yeah, no, and it's sad, and it's difficult. It was wrong. Obviously, they figured it out very quickly.
But here's the thing: someone would wonder, perhaps. I mean, you're on a call with Goldman Sachs. You're trying to score $40 million in funding. Why were you not on the call, and how did you not have any knowledge of the call?
You know, part of the fundraising process, you end up talking to a lot of people, and I'm not on every call. And there are lots of these reference calls that happen. They, I think, probably ended up talking to 3, 4, maybe 5 of our references. They also talked to members of the team. They talked to some of our other investors. And so there are a fair number of things that are involved, and you're not a part of all of them. But over a 3-month period of time, I spent a lot of time with them as part of the process.
As you know, there could be some serious legal implications with regard to that.
So the serious implications, I'm pausing just in case, because we don't want to get struck. But the implications could have been Carlos Watson being arrested on fraud charges. We are going to get to the New York Post article of Carlos Watson faked a $600 million takeover offer to lure investor, and then we're going to get into Roland Martin, because Roland Martin had some things to say as well. Let's go back. We're live on tour. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, everybody. Glad to have you all here.
That call. Have you heard from the FBI? Have you heard from law enforcement at this point?
I definitely haven't. But here's what I will say. That's a tragic situation. It's horrible. Nothing good about that at all. I am grateful, though, that Goldman didn't invest, because that would have been the worst of all. And several months later, to Goldman's enormous credit, they stepped forward and began a new advertising partnership with us. And so I think part of that was a recognition that, as tragic and not okay as that was, that the larger company, Ozy, has done some pretty special things when it comes to premium content, forward-looking content, and really a diverse set of audiences.
Let's talk about the company for just a moment. I mean, you're announcing that you are, in fact, open for business, but it's not just that phone call. I mean, there were reports that Ozy had been inflating numbers for years, digital traffic numbers. There were billboards in Los Angeles that you had to take down after Amazon claimed that you were making claims on those billboards that weren't entirely true. Your show on YouTube, you, I guess, said at one point that the show was going to be on A&E, but it wasn't going to be on A&E. Why would anyone trust Carlos Watson moving forward?
Yeah, great question, and fair question, and heartbreaking question, because I'm used to people trusting me. I'm the son of teachers. You've known me for a number of years. We've interacted in a variety of ways, and I once worked here at NBC as part of the MSNBC family. I think here's what I would say. Last week, I got some incredibly bad advice. I got advice from some crisis communications folks to go silent. I should not have done that. What ended up over the next week was some half-truths. In some cases, some real things that we did not well and that we should have done better and different, and we will own them. We'll own them around data, around marketing, around other places. But I wish I had stepped up. I wish I had engaged. And part of my reason of being here with you today is to engage on those things, including some of the things you mentioned. Let me take the A&E thing as an example. Originally, we did conceive of this show for A&E. We've had a 2-year partnership with A&E. We've done shows for A&E, for Lifetime, for the History Channel. And originally, we talked to them about it. They moved too slowly on it. We notified them that we weren't going to do it there. We were going to move it to YouTube. The gentleman who you mentioned and who was part of that story knew that we had moved it to YouTube. And yet now comes forward and says, I didn't know. Of course he knew.
Okay. Let's accept that as fact. What about this Sharon and Ozy Osbourne? At one point,
I mean,
but you said that they were investors. Sharon Osbourne last week on CNBC said she's never met Carlos.
So context on this. So Sharon Osbourne, who was on the talk, but who got fired from the talk. Basically, Ozy and OZZY share a similar namesake. And so there was a lawsuit for copyright infringement of said name. So what Carlos Watson did was offer shares of the company to mitigate a lawsuit. But Carlos Watson said that Sharon Osbourne was an investor in the company when she's never heard of Ozy, never met Carlos, and never invested a dime into Ozy Media. So that's the context on that.
Watson. So what's true there?
So it's true that she hasn't met me, and it's true that as a result of her suing us. So she sued us over the name Ozy Fest, which is our music and ideas festival. She had Ozfest. The agreement was that we were going to give her shares in the company. And the way I think about it, I think the way a lot of people think about it, if you own shares in a company, you're an investor. Now, she may not have liked that word. And let's be really clear. I'm not going to raise money by telling sophisticated people that Sharon Osbourne's an investor. No smart investor is going to say, oh, great, you got Sharon Osbourne. So I think I said that clearly in the cases there. But again, Craig, what I want to say is that the last couple of days gave a lot of people a chance to take cheap shots. And again, that's not to say that there aren't things that we could do better. We need to do better on data. We need to do better on marketing. I think there's some things we could do better on leadership and culture.
Let's talk about data for a second. Have you ever paid for digital traffic?
Like everyone, 100%. And this is such a good conversation to get into, because guess who else pays? NBC. NBC advertises on Ozy. NBC advertises.
But not to get into the weeds here.
Sure.
One of the knocks for the last few days is that Ozy had spent millions of dollars buying content that pops up that you can't escape, that's popping up behind your browser. Is that true?
I don't know about that, but here's what Ozy does. We are unwilling to take our smart reporting, our terrific videos, our really good podcasts, and let the algorithm decide who gets to see it. Why should we do that? Hang on one second. If we want to make sure that really interesting young audiences see our good work, whether we're profiling a young Amanda Gorman, a young Trevor Noah, a young Issa Rae, or other folks, I think it's smart of us. HBO does it, Spotify does it, Uber does it. You definitely say, I want this audience, and you've got to invest in marketing to do it.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about something here that's personal to both of us, because following the racial justice protests last summer, there was a call for advertisers to spend lots more money with Black-owned media. You got some of that money, and over the weekend, I talked to some folks who are pretty annoyed that you got millions and they really didn't get anything. Do you feel some sort of way that perhaps maybe you shouldn't have got as much money from advertisers?
Why would I feel that way?
Well, the business collapsed last week, Carlos.
The business is.
You've got 90. You raised almost $100 million, and what do you have to show for it?
What we have to show for it is 5 newsletters, dozen TV shows, either on the air on Hulu, Amazon, PBS, BBC. We won an Emmy last year, as you know.
The 4-episode series on home.
6 podcasts, including Cracking the Top 10, and 3 festivals.
So it's not a house of cards, because that's been the claim over the last week.
And Craig, you among others know what a horrible thing that is, and you know how slanderous that is to do that. And when you saw people start to put my name in league with Elizabeth Holmes, who never had a real product, who raised billions of dollars, when again, we have 5 premium newsletters, goes out to millions of people, a dozen TV shows, including winning an Emmy, right? That's not a house of cards. And so, look, we're back. It's not going to be easy, but I hope if people
who's backing you? If
people now know the name, Ozy, O-Z-Y, I hope they'll sign up for our newsletter.
Of course.
Yeah.
Who's funding you right now? Can you tell us that?
I can't.
Who's on the board?
Myself, Michael Moe.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Carlos Watson.
Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for coming in and answering the question, CEO. Carlos Watson from Ozy.
So that is that video there. Like I said, it gets very into the weeds because
for the holidays
Black media is not invested in as it should be. So when you hear that BET could be sold to a management group where the CEO is Asian, but everyone else is pretty much white except one Black person there, it's about ownership and the equity and the freedom of ownership. So advertisers invest into Ozy Media because it looks like a safe platform where they won't rock the boat and tip the boat over. But where Roland Martin, who does Roland Martin Unfiltered, and other Black content creators can't even receive a conversation or a meeting to just get in the door. So we're going to go to this article here from the New York Post on this here. So it says here, disgrace Ozy Media CEO Carlos Watson faked $600 million offer to lure investor from the feds. The shocking allegation was one of the many levied against Watson, who was arrested on Thursday and slapped with an array of fraud charges. Prosecutors allege that Watson conspired to milk Ozy Media investors out of millions of dollars as a part of a long-range scheme. Watson allegedly instructed Ozy's former chief operating officer, Sam Monroe, to send the unnamed investor from an April 2021 presentation deck to showing the tech company had committed a $30 million investment in the media firm. Prosecutors later contacted the investor himself to tout the $600 million buyout. Watson purportedly detailed his conversation with the investor in text to Rao. I told him I would sleep on, Watson said allegedly. I think we go back and we say we're going to say no to technology company one, at least for now. So a smaller Series D. So we have more rampant dilution. Take in 40 million, including their 20 million, maybe some debt. Let's talk when you can. Both Rao and Ozy's former chief of staff, Suzy Han, have already pled guilty to fraud charges. They expect to face sentencing later this year. Carlos Watson is a con man whose business strategy was based on outright deceit and fraud. He ran Ozy as a criminal organization rather than a reputable media company. Brooklyn U.S. Attorney Brian Peace said. Michael J. Disrael, the assistant director in charge of the FBI New York field office, said Watson repeatedly attempted to entice both investors and lenders through a series of deliberate deceptions and fabrications. Watson has pled not guilty and is out on $1 million bond. He faces up to 37 years in prison if found guilty on all charges. Watson's attorney, Larry Brewer, said he was deeply disappointed how federal authorities handled the situation. We were engaged in a good faith and constructive dialogue with the government, Brewer said, according to Bloomberg. Given the department's claims of promoting such dialogue, I do not understand the dramatic decision to arrest Carlos today. The arrest marked the culmination of a stunning downfall for Watson, a former CNN and MSNBC contributor whose effort to build a hip media brand attracted a number of investors. Ozy Media employed after the New York Times report revealed that Rao had impersonated YouTube executive during a phone call while pitching Goldman Sachs on potential investment. Watson's company would eventually shut down after the report prompted an exodus of advertisers and investors. Sorry, so we are going to get to the lawsuit, but I'm giving you all the context. So when we get to the lawsuit, you guys know exactly where we're going. So the next person to respond is the one and only Mr. Roland Martin. He had a lot to say. Roland, I love you, brother. I value, I embrace you. News One Now was amazing. And what you have done on YouTube is nothing but a spectacular display of Black power, Black ownership, and Black consciousness. So with that being said, here we go. Carlos Watson calls out Roland on the Breakfast Club. Uncle Roro responds. Here we go.
All right, folks, let's talk about Black-owned media. Yesterday on the Today Show, Carlos Watson, who is the founder of Ozy Media, announced that despite what they announced on Friday, they're not going to be shutting the media company down. He sat down with Craig Melvin on today's show and talked about what took place last week with the company, said that he should have done more media interviews and did not like what was being reported about the company, and that he said that they're going to be like Lazarus and come back from the dead. Well, yesterday he taped an interview with the Breakfast Club, which aired today. And in that particular interview, 15-minute interview, he talked about a variety of things, answered their questions. During the interview, Charlemagne also revealed that he was an investor in Ozy as well, apparently invested about $10,000. Well, during the interview, Carlos a couple of times called out me and Soledad O'Brien because we were critical of Ozy and posts we made. But then at the end of the interview, he brought me up again. Listen to this.
Like, look through it. I'd be happy for people to do it. And I'd be happy for people to compare it apples to apples.
Are you going to talk to some of these people that's really criticizing you, like the Roland Martins? Would you sit down with Roland?
Would love to.
Okay. Roland, we're going to make that happen.
And, I was disappointed in Roland, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I was disappointed in him, but you know what? Maybe I was wrong, and so I'm happy to learn and grow.
What disappointed you the most?
I thought that I thought it was a little bit of a crabs in the bucket sort of thing. I thought that immediately he saw us in trouble, and he just, more than anyone, he was the one retweeting and posting, and it was almost assassination like. And given his experience at CNN and what happened to him, I thought.
Now, for those of you who don't know the legendary, right? So, for those of you who don't know the legendary Roland Martin, he was a contributor on CNN for a very, very, very long time, and he was also a contributor on the said it's the time, join the morning show, yeah. So, left CNN. Under circumstances, then went to TV One, had a show called News One Now. That got canceled. And then if you see this, let me go to the clip here. If you see this here, that is the Black Star Network. That is Roland Martin's own television network that he owns. So that's just a little context of the legendary Roland Martin. Now he has Roland Martin Filtered, a daily show that he puts out, I think at 6 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday.
Be the last person being involved in that kind of thing. And so, you know, it is what it is. And I've got to learn from that, and I've got to get better. But if you ever see me doing that, let me know if you see me doing that. I hope you will never see me doing that. I hope even if we have differences, you and I will have the conversation. I won't be out there trying to assassinate people in public along with the mob.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's Carlos Watson. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana.
Now, I do want to say this, even though I was a part of the inauguration after show, Carlos, with all due respect, bruh, everybody was talking about you. Forbes was talking about you. CNBC was talking about you. ABC was talking about you. Everybody was talking about you. I'm talking about you now, but I'm putting context on it, because I do believe that there's going to be threads that are going to be lost. Like I said, this is the very first video that is being shown here. So let me show y'all this tab here. See that right there? See that right there? Okay. Now we're going to go to upload date today. You see, I'm the first person on YouTube to cover Ozy Media. So the first person to bring the story to YouTube is a black person, Carlos. So let's put some respect on the fact that at least you are being talked about, that there is a content creator that is trying to showcase all sides here, okay? So let's go back to Uncle Roro, Roland Martin Filtered, leg out.
All right. So let me speak to that. Carlos, it's very clear that you don't follow me. It's abundantly clear that you don't follow me on social media, because if you did, you would realize that I often talk about media stories. I've been in media since I was 14 years old. This was not something that I fell into. I didn't go to school majoring in something else and then fell into media later like you did. I chose this when I was 14 years old. I'll be 53 years old on November 14th. So this has been my life for 39 years. And if anybody who follows me, they know I often post stories, retweet stories, comment on stories that deal with the media. When Joe Concha, who is a media and political columnist for The Hill, who's also with Fox News. Oh, check the timeline. You'll see the comments that I've made directly to him. The other thing is this here, Carlos. You saw what I had to say because I tagged you. See, I ain't no punk. I'm not going to comment about Ozy and comment about you and not tag you. Uncle Roro don't subtweet. I'm real clear about being open and honest. Folks criticized me when I cracked on Sha'Carri Richardson for coming in ninth. Why'd you have to tag her? Because that's what I do. I don't subtweet. So anybody who follows me knows I'm often talking about media, talking about advertising, talking about all of those different things, because this is what I do. This is what I talk about.
And that's very true. Roland Martin has always been for the culture, of the culture, and by the culture. you know, and I relate to Roland in the fact of sometimes you fall into things, other times this is what you choose to do. I chose this. Really, it got started in high school because I went to Parkview in Arkansas in the afternoons, but mornings I would go to Metropolitan Career Technical Center, and I would do morning radio broadcast classes with Mr. Miles. Love that brother. He taught me so much about radio. And from there, I just built and built and built and built. I'm saying build and built because I'm still in the process. But either way, this is what I do. So even though I'm not at Roland Martin's level, I don't, like he said, I don't subtweet. I directly respond to entertainment, media, culture, social capital stories, anything that's happening. Because honestly, there are a lot of people on YouTube who like to project being anybody just to look like they're somebody. And even though I may not have the biggest audience, even though I may not be seen by everybody, doesn't mean I'm not being seen. So I'm bringing y'all this story to show y'all that this is what I do. So I relate to Roland in that so many times after a while you get tired. You poke the bear, you're going to get bit after a while. So this video here is to showcase the fact that this is what I want to do. I'm in the LMH sector because I love it. I value it. I have met a lot of amazing people, still am. But I want to showcase through Virtual Tour Live the diversity of who I am. So let's roll on with Uncle Rover. I'm pausing so that way we won't get struck. So here we go.
And I've discussed other media companies owned by Black people. So this whole idea that somehow, it's crabs in a bucket. First of all, it's called crabs in a barrel. It's not crabs in a barrel. And then to say, well, I saw an opportunity. I didn't see an opportunity. The fact of the matter is, I am a Black-owned media company that's serving Black people, that's targeting African Americans. There are others who watch my show who are not Black, who do appreciate the show, and I've gotten emails from them, contributions from them. The reality, Carlos, I don't think I've ever heard you say you're a Black-owned company. You probably have positioned yourself as saying, I'm a media company owned by somebody who's African American.
If you're a digital marketer, you got to try SimilarWeb. SimilarWeb is a platform that helps you grow your website.
The second thing, when you said you called it assassination. So you don't like the fact that I've retweeted others who have had negative things to say about you? Your former writer, Eugene Robinson, who wrote a very critical Substack about you, comments that you made about him. What? That can't be retweeted? Are you suggesting, Carlos, that I, as an African American who owns a media company, that you expected me to be quiet because it involved you? You and I don't have a relationship. We don't. Our paths have crossed. I remember the reason I think I have your phone number because Constance White, who used to write for Ozy, I think she's still right. I don't know if she's writing for them, said, hey, you and Carlos ought to hook up. She either sent me the number or I sent you a message on LinkedIn, so I got your number. So after the interview yesterday, Charlamagne said, you should call me. You called me. I was busy yesterday with the George Lopez golf tournament. So my booker has already reached out to you, call you and text you about having you come on the show. You sat with the Breakfast Club for 50 minutes. Fine, Carlos. You come on Roland Martin Unfiltered in the Black Star Network. Let's have a conversation about what has transpired. And there's a series of questions that I do have for you. And I've watched the Craig Melvin interview and the interview with the Breakfast Club. And I've got a lot of follow-ups to some stuff that you had to say. But the thing for me, Carlos, that I need you to understand, and anybody who follows me knows this, the motto that I have had my entire career has been this: if you do good, I'll talk about you. If you do bad, I'll talk about you. at the end of the day, I'll talk about you. So talking about Ozy and reading the New York Times story by Ben Smith that I was quoted in, a subsequent story, reading the story from Forbes, reading Eugene Robinson's account, reading the other accounts as well. Yes, I've seen those stories. And see, Carlos, you can't have it both ways where everybody is wrong and you're right. I'll give you a perfect example. I could hold it for the interview. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. During your interview with the Breakfast Club, you castigated Ben Smith for writing about the mental health issues of your COO, the one who impersonated the YouTube executive. You said that shouldn't have been written about. Here's the problem with that. Later in the interview, see, I want you to understand, Carlos, how I listen to what somebody says. Later in the interview, Charlemagne came back and asked you about it and then said, well, you upset that Ben Smith wrote about it, but you the one who told Ben about the mental issue. And so had you not told Ben about the mental issue, how would Ben have written about the mental issue? Because you told him. See what happens when you listen? And so it's silly. It's nonsensical, Carlos, to act as if, oh, I was disappointed. And then you want to bring up what I went through at CNN. Well, what about it? See, I'll address things head on as well. And so are you suggesting, Carlos, that because I went through some drama at CNN 9 years ago, that somehow I can't speak about or talk about something else? Nah, bruh, that's not how that happens.
And it's not. It's absolutely not. Hey, Phyllis, welcome in. Glad to have you here. And that's not how it happens. Just because one thing happens does not negate you from talking about something else. Now, that would be like, for example, remember the Hulu story that I told y'all about, right? And how I said that to me, Disney was stupid for trying to combine Disney Plus and Hulu, because with Disney Plus, you think of Snow White, you think of Elemental, you think of Wall-E, you think of Meet the Robinsons, you think of Aladdin. And I'm like, that's what's supposed to be. Hey, Revelation 2023, welcome in. That was Disney Plus is supposed to be for families and kids. You combining Hulu, they're not going to vibe with The Rookie and American Idol and American Horror Story on the same platform where they could see the Emperor's New Groove. That's not going to work. That's not going to groove. That's not going to jive. But then Disney, and I quote, is saying we're adding a Hulu portal so you can stream content, but we're keeping Hulu. And guess what Braylon did? Braylon Lee, Braylonlee, said that he was wrong. Just because I talked about Disney Plus and Hulu did not negate me from talking about an update on the Hulu story. Okay? So context is everything. Like Roland Martin said so articulately, if you do good, I'll talk about you. If you do bad, I'll talk about you. Stephen A. Smith. A lot of people don't like Stephen A. Smith, but you know what Stephen A. Smith said? I am like an 18-wheeler. I'm coming. But you know what? At least I let you know I'm coming. Stephen A. doesn't talk about personal stuff on First Take because he wants everybody to get to the bag. But if it relates to what you do, good or bad, I'm going to talk about you because I get paid to talk about you. I don't get paid to please you. Let's keep rolling. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are live on tour talking about the Ozy Media lawsuit, Ben Smith and BuzzFeed. Right now, we're in the middle of Roland Martin giving his response to Carlos Watson. We have one more response from Roland Martin, and then we're going to get into the lawsuit. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to have you all here.
And so it wasn't character assassination. It wasn't, ooh, I saw an opportunity, because what you do at Ozy is totally different than what I do. I own my blackness. I'm upfront about my blackness. I'm very clear about who I serve. I'm very clear about the audience that I am trying to speak to. And so there is no, again, oh my goodness, I am trying to gain some advantage. But I will say this, Carlos, and you and I will talk about this when we have the conversation. I will say to you, though, that it is important when we talk about what happened when it came to getting these advertising dollars. And you admitted in your interview with the Breakfast Club how you benefited from the battle. But Byron Allen and Todd Brown and myself and Butch Graves and Don Jackson and Junior Bridgman and Diddy and others have been engaged in, because you have been able to sit back quietly and reap the benefits of the work that we put in. And so we'll see what happens right now. We'll see what happens with the future of Ozy. I've seen a story in the New York Times where one of your investors is suing you right now for $2 million for failing to disclose what happened with Goldman Sachs and YouTube. We see that another story said the advertisers are staying clear of you. You know what? That's all your business. But what I am going to say, Carlos, I am more than willing to talk with you. I am in LA through Sunday. I know you were there in Silicon Valley. You were in New York, today's show, and doing the Breakfast Club. So I'm doing various one-on-one interviews for a new show on the Black Star Network called Roland with Roland. And so I have open slots, Carlos, tomorrow on Wednesday. I've got slots open on Thursday. All day Friday is open. Saturday
this is how I roll.
If you find yourself in LA, come on by. I'll text you the address and we can have a conversation right here. If you can't come, we'll have a conversation on the show. See, you said to Charlemagne, well, Charlemagne, if you see me doing something like this here, you will call me first. That means that you want to have an offline conversation. Well, he's one of the investors in your company. You have a relationship. I don't have a relationship with you. So you and I having a conversation offline. Why? You had one with Craig Melvin on the Today Show. You had one with Charlemagne, DJ Envy, and Angela Yee on the Breakfast Club. So we have a conversation. It's going to be a public conversation. And it should be. Because, again, I am a journalist. And what I was raised on, it was about truth, integrity, character, honesty. It was about being upfront and clear, owning mistakes, not accepting BS. But do not mistake, Carlos, that any criticism that I have is personal, it's a vendetta, that it's assassination, or anything along those lines. It's called truth.
And listen, that is exactly how I would roll. Listen, you want to talk to me? I got slots open. Okay? Breaking bread with Braylon. You want to talk? Text me. I'll DM you. That's exactly how that should have went. So I got no problems with rolling. Let's keep rolling. We're live on Troy. Like, comment, share, subscribe, everybody.
And truth is what reigns supreme. Truth is what matters. Not fudging, not being astray, not getting too out there, which you admitted in the interview that y'all did with some of your marketing things, how you, and I'll pull the comment up, how you sort of, strayed, or, you know, you were too aggressive, whatever, with some claims made. Where I come from, we call that lying. But we'll go over all of that in the conversation that we have. But don't ever, Carlos, get it twisted. Don't ever assume that anything I do is trying to assassinate somebody. It's called speaking truth. All day, every day, 24/7, 365, 366 in a leap year. Folks, back to our roadblock unfiltered video in just one moment.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure. It's wireless. It's something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021. Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry. I used to hate parallel parking. Me too. Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you. All of you.
So that is Roland Martin there. Now we are going to go to the actual lawsuit. By the way, shout out to Variety. Actually, before we get to the lawsuit, let me show y'all the Variety article, just so that way you guys can know what is going on here, okay? Because we give context on this channel over here. So it says Carlos Watson's Ozy Media lawsuit accuses Ben Smith, BuzzFeed, and Semaphore of stealing trade secrets. Lawyers for Ozy Media, the defunct media and entertainment company founded by Carlos Watson, allege in a new lawsuit that Ben Smith and BuzzFeed, Semaphore, the media start co-founded by Smith in 2022, misappropriated Ozy's trade secrets for their own benefit. The suit additionally alleges that BuzzFeed reached a non-disclosure agreement it entered into with Ozy in 2019 as a part of its efforts to buy the company. Lawyers representing Ozy Media allege that Smith, a former BuzzFeed news editor-in-chief and New York Times media columnist, who is currently editor-in-chief of Semaphore, wrote a series of hit pieces about Ozy Media, but that he did not disclose his central role in BuzzFeed's efforts to buy Ozy 2 years earlier while he was at BuzzFeed. Reps for BuzzFeed and Semaphore declined to comment. Smith did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the lawsuit. The lawsuit filed Thursday in U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York seeks unspecified monetary damages that Smith and Semaphore be restrained and enjoined from misappropriating, disclosing, and using Ozy confidential information trade secrets. The suit alleges that Smith was given unfettered access to Ozy's trade secrets during the BuzzFeed acquisition process. So for those of you who don't know, there is a company called Complex. I'm sure y'all know Complex very well. I'll pull up Complex Media, just so that way y'all know what Complex looks like. So this is Complex Media. Now Verizon had Complex Media, right? For a long time. And so because Verizon Media disbanded, Verizon Media sold off Complex. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought y'all could see it. Let me show this tab instead. This right here is Complex Media. So because Verizon Media sold off parts of it, including AOL, In the Know, and other platforms, BuzzFeed bought up Complex. So BuzzFeed was potentially going to buy Ozy Media and bring it into the BuzzFeed platform. Okay, so that's the context on acquisition and things like that. Okay, all right. So it says here the lawsuit alleges that Smith was given unfettered access into Ozy trade secrets during the BuzzFeed acquisition process in September 2019, when BuzzFeed was exploring a deal to buy Ozy Media that they ultimately abandoned. That included non-public information relating to actual anticipated business and or products, research or development of Ozy, such as marketing, finance, and other business materials, as well as information on Ozy customers. Lawyers for Ozy Media accused Smith of trying to copy Ozy's business model to launch Semaphore. After BuzzFeed went public and having seen Ozy's playbook for launching, operating, generating revenue for a multi-platform media company during BuzzFeed's attempt to buy Ozy, Ben Smith and his co-founder announced the creation of their own media company, Semaphore, a splitting image of Ozy. Dustin Perch, a partner of Meyer Watkins Phillips Furch, the law firm representing Ozy, said in a statement. A story by Smith published September 26, 2000, 2021 in the New York Times report that Ozy Media falsified audience metrics, and that Chief Operating Officer, that's COO, that's what COO stands for, Chief Operating Officer Samir Rao, impersonated a YouTube executive on a call with prospective investor Goldman Sachs. Regarding the Times story, the lawsuit claims that Watson was shocked that Ben Smith would even report on Ozy at all, given the unprecedented access to Ozy's trade secrets that he had, BuzzFeed, and his strict obligations under the Mutual Non-Disclosure Agreement, NDA. In March of 2023, Ozy Media shut down after Watson was arrested and indicted on federal fraud charges the previous month. On February 23rd, Watson was arrested in Manhattan and charged with conspiracy to commit securities fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud in what the Justice Department alleged was a scheme to defraud Ozy investors and lenders. Watson was also charged with aggravated identity theft for his role in the impersonation of multiple media company executives in communications with Ozy's lenders and prospective investors in furtherance of the fraud schemes. Federal prosecutor says Watson, as a series of posts on Twitter, no one calls it X, it's still called Twitter. It's the domain twitter.com still is working, so I'm going to call it Twitter, because that's what it is. That's what it should be, and the bird should still be there. Following his arrest and indictment, he said he will fight these charges with everything I have. I look forward to my day in court. He also wrote, I'm deeply disappointed by the government's actions yesterday. I am not and have never been a con man. I am and have been a hardworking entrepreneur who has built a special company from scratch. He continued, I'm not saying that I haven't made mistakes. I have, but it's fair to ask, why have I been singled out? Ozy is a real and valuable company that was built through an enormous amount of hard work and sacrifice. Watson's comment reference was regarding the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York's February 23rd press release about the indictment. Watson's lawyers took issue with the U.S. Attorney's description of him as a con man, Ozy Media as a criminal organization, among other things. In a request to the judge overseeing the case, Watson's legal team asked the government to remove such prejudicial language. In a response filed November 6th, Judge Eric Comorti agreed with many of those contentions. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York removed the comment and criminal organization from the press release in November 16th update. The lawsuit filed Thursday on behalf of Ozy Media, which Watson had launched in 2013, claimed that prior to Smith's report in the New York Times, Ozy was a successful, thriving, majority Black-owned multi-platform brand with 5 premium subscription newsletters, 12 television shows, 10 podcasts, a unique awards program, and flagship event business anchored by Ozy Fest. A copy of the Ozy Media complaint is available at this link. Ozy Media is jointly represented by Alexander Sankin of Sankin Law in the matter. So like I said to y'all, it is very, very deep. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. We got one more response from the one and only Mr. Roland Martin here, and then we are going to get into the lawsuit. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are live on tour.
Would you build a website for a major brand with more than 200 million users?
You ever get an email and it pops in your box and you open it and then you go, what in the hell is this? Well, today, I was alerted to this website that indicted media owner Carlos Watson, Ozy.com, is sending around. So he's decided to launch this website called twoblackforbusiness.org. And Carlos, as part of his defense, is saying that the white prosecutors in Brooklyn who indicted him for his involvement in the crimes that they allege at Ozy, that 90% of the people who they have charged are people of color. So he has this press release on here, and his defense team is being led by Ronald S. Sullivan Sr. Of Harvard. And he goes on here and he's talking about these cases and these defendants and the folk who they haven't put a lot of white folks away. And then he puts in here, talking about too often Black entrepreneurs are being criminalized for their activities. Now, mind you, this is the same Carlos Watson who they didn't put in here, who's facing 37 years in prison because of activities. And then he even tries to call out white media folks like Shane Smith at Vice, as well as Jonah Peretti at BuzzFeed, Ben talks about how African Americans are less likely to get venture capitalist money. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And it says on here, please contribute, to his fund. You see the website right here, y'all. The U.S. legal system criminalizes the actions of Black entrepreneurs, such as Ozy Media founder Carlos Watson, while giving their white counterparts a pass. And so y'all, I mean, the site is hilarious. So then he posted a video on Vimeo that was even more hilarious to listen to. Now, what he's essentially saying is, I'm a crook, but y'all didn't go after the other crooks too. Press play.
Hi, I'm Carlos Watson, the founder and CEO of Ozy. Some of you may know my story, some of you may not. It has been a very tough several months, very, very tough. It's been humbling in the extreme. I want everyone to know that as difficult as this is, I intend to fight with everything I have. And I intend to do it for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm innocent, and two, because I know that what's happening to me doesn't only happen to me. Sadly, it's happening to lots of people all the time, often in quiet. Sometimes people of color are warned not to think too big, that the color of your skin will limit what you can hope to accomplish. But my family and I refused to believe that. I had an itch to create a different kind of news and media platform because I know that media often shapes not just what we think and see, but how we live and how we treat each other. We wanted to change how people saw the world because we know that if you see more, in fact, you might be more and do more. But as I began to build Ozy, I confronted a stark reality. When I went to raise money, like a lot of Black entrepreneurs, I had trouble often getting through the door or getting meetings that they took seriously or getting any kind of reasonable follow-up. There was a significant 2020 study the Washington Post covered that said while we're 13% of the population, Black people are only able to raise 1% of the technology venture capital.
Now, that is true. To be a Black entrepreneur and to get into rooms is not easy. That's why Shark Tank has become the great equalizer that is 15 seasons later, right? However, for those of you who may or may not know, he was arrested. Carlos Watson was arrested for, let me bring it up here, because I just want to give context here as we are rolling on here. So it says here that Carlos Watson was arrested for defrauding investors of approximately $50 million through repeated misrepresentations concerning the company's basic financial condition, business relationship, and fundraising efforts. Adding that Rao and Han have agreed to resolve the charges against them. The Security and Exchange Commission is seeking injunction relief and civil penalties and officer and director bars for disgorgement and prejudge interest. Additionally, the U.S. Department of Justice launched its own probe into the company. So the scam, allegedly, $45 million is how much Watson and his co-conspirators attempted to induce a financial institution to invest between November 2020 and February 2021 by means of material misrepresentations and omissions regarding Ozy's historical and projected financial results, debts, and business relationships. $6 million is about how much Watson will have been paid personally from the $45 million investment, at least 100% how much Watson and his co-conspirators routinely and purposely inflated Ozy Media annual revenue, according to the Security and Exchange Commission. According to them, $1 million is the bond Watson paid after pleading not guilty for his arraignment, and 37 years is the maximum sentence if convicted. This story comes to us from QZ.com. So that is context as Carlos Watson is saying out loud, that Carlos Watson is saying out loud that this is a race issue. Okay, so I just wanted to give that context. Here we go.
Thankfully, as a family, we put everything we had, we liquidated our savings, and we made one payroll after another. But the story doesn't necessarily have a smooth ending. In fact, those of you who know my story know that it doesn't. Like a lot of other new media companies, we also at times embrace the fake it till you make it ethos. When you look at companies like Vice, not only did they embrace fake it till you make it, they made that their mantra. Wired magazine wrote a story that talked about how Shane Smith and Vice lied about content, about their audience, about their financials. They even lied about who their investors were. Do you think that Shane Smith got investigated? Not a chance. Walked away with more than $100 million. I'm asking you to look at what's happening when people like me are entrepreneuring while black. I'm talking about the leading trader on Wall Street in the 90s, Joseph Jett, who went from being named Man of the Year in January 94 to under indictment review 3 months later. How does that happen? Or Calvin Grigsby, who built one of the leading municipal investment banks, went from being called one of the best entrepreneurs out there to almost being arrested at his kid's soccer game 90 days later. Or take the first black CEO of a Fortune 500 company, Franklin Raines. Now, he hasn't had a job in 20 years. Our mistakes are being turned into crimes, and we're having people charge us in a gross and inappropriate way. In fact, the 3 wealthy young white prosecutors on this case are in Brooklyn, which you know through gentrification is now 35% plus white. How many white people have these guys indicted over the last 5 years? Less than 10%. Meanwhile, 9 out of 10 of the people they've indicted are black and brown people and people of color. And while I'm not a martyr, I do care about the next generation. I do care that other young entrepreneurs like me, other young black entrepreneurs like me, don't continue to face the same crazy odds that I face, the same overcharging and selective prosecution that has hit so many of us. Thank you for taking a moment with this. God bless you and God bless us all.
What you just heard was absolute complete bullshit. Oh, now all of a sudden you want to put on a kente coat. Now all of a sudden you want to act like, oh, you're championing African Americans. Well, first of all, I tried earlier to go to Ozy.com to pull up and see how many stories that they've done on these type of issues. Go to my website. Oh, sorry. Their website's no longer online. You can't actually look.
Now, this is Ozy as of right now. So this is I mean, listen, Roland is gonna be Roland, okay? So this is Ozy Media as of right now. So you click the TV and you see the TV there. You see all of these shows here. So the website is back up. Now, recognize now this was a while back, okay? Here on the podcast, okay? So I'm just giving y'all some context here. And listen, I understand why Roland is feeling the way that he's feeling, right? Because his show is funded through us, the people, and he can barely get any advertisers. But this guy here, Carlos Watson, has had funding for all of these different things. And you see the guests that participate at Ozzy Fest: John Legend, Trevor Noah, Aquafina, Joe Biden, Issa Rae, Padma Lakshmi from Top Chef, Stacey Abrams, Laverne Cox, Todd Kitchener, Coates, Jason Derulo, Dan Crenshaw, Andrew Yang, Talib Kowal, Tan France, Gloria Steinem, Baker Mayfield, Amy Purdy, Michelle Wolf, Trey Young, Karamo, John Kasich, Mazria Mar, Hajan, Jean, Miguel, Alex Rodriguez, who there was a story about how Alex Rodriguez invested and gave college students free tickets. Jamil Mills, Spike Lee, DeLon Sloan, the Giant, Samantha Bee. It goes on and 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 on. So, you know, I know Roland Martin would love to have this. Stephen A. Smith, of course, Representative Maxine Waters there. Carlos Watson, of course. So you see how it goes on and on and on. So I totally feel him. You know what I mean? And I do think that after, and this was the Genius Awards here, I think after being able to do what, after everything that has been said and done with BET, with TV One, with Bounce TV, with Aspire, we need to level the playing field for everybody, because as we saw from what the strike happened, that not everybody can get in the door for opportunity. You know what I mean? So let's get back as we're live on tour. Here we go.
Look it up. But what you can look up, what you can look up is this here. This is the actual, and let me be perfectly clear. Folks are innocent until proven guilty. But I just want y'all to understand how all of a sudden Carlos is the brother fighting on behalf of all the black folks. Okay, when you were running with Ozy, I didn't quite see you making these same claims. And we were out there fighting for black-owned media to get advertising dollars. Oh, you were the darling of the industry. You weren't standing out there fighting with us. Nope. No, you were not. I don't recall seeing those social justice stories, Carlos, when you were running Ozy. Where were they? You know why? Because you were the darling of white venture capital money. Y'all raised $75 million. Don't try to act like, oh my God, it was so hard and it was so difficult. And oh, this is the lack of money that black people get. You got the money. If you, matter of fact, let me just go ahead. Before I show this here, let me just type in Ozy and Group M. Group M is one of the largest ad agencies in the country. What did I just say? One of the largest in the country. They had something called a media inclusion initiative. And what did they do? They struck a 2-year deal with Ozy. Here's right here. Here's a story. It was an ad age. Group M strikes a 2-year deal with Ozy to further its DEI efforts. Sure did. You go to the ad age story, you're going to actually see what that initiative was all about right here. Oh, my goodness. Here it is. And this was, of course, in April of 2021. That's right. 2-year multi-platform deal. Millions of dollars with the CEO of Group M, Kirk McDonald, who's a brother. Oh, investment, all things they're going to be doing, how great they are, socially conscious media, all that sort of stuff. Folks, they got way more advertising money than we have. They were getting stories done left and right on how great they were, and all that shit was made up. So and then I love when he said in the video, when black entrepreneurs make mistakes and get overcharged. Oh, make mistakes. This is the press release from the Department of Justice. Ozy Media and its founder, Carlos Watson, indicted in a years-long multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Here's what's interesting here. This paragraph right here. Watson's co-conspirators, Samir Rayo, Ozy's chief operating officer, and Susie Hahn, Ozy's chief of staff, from June 2019 to October 2021, previously pled guilty to charges relating to their roles in the scheme. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is taking concurrent enforcement action. Here's the quote. As alleged, Carlos Watson is a con man whose business strategy was based on outright deceit and fraud. He ran Ozy as a criminal organization rather than as a reputable media company. Stated United States Attorney Peace, investment fraud undermines confidence in our nation's markets and investors and makes it harder for honest businesses to compete. Honest businesses like Black Star Network. Our office of the Department of Justice have made it clear that prosecuting corporations and their corrupt executives who flagrantly violate the law are top priorities. Now, Carlos said, we made mistakes. We made mistakes. But it says right here, they had a festival, fraudulent numbers. Between 2018 and 2021, Watson and his co-conspirators orchestrated a scheme to defraud investors and lenders to Ozy of tens of millions of dollars through fraudulent misrepresentations and omissions about key aspects of Ozy's business, including Ozy's financial results, debts, and audience size. Now, let me hear.
Now, when you are trying to go for a business, now, when you watch Shark Tank, when they ask, like, what's your profit margin? What do you see projected 5 years out? What's this? What's that? What's all around the world? And They want those numbers to determine where their range of engagement is mentally. So when you are not forthright, that means that the company that invests in you, that looks bad on them because they didn't do their research. So because of inflated numbers and impersonating a YouTube executive, botched a $40 million investment from Goldman Sachs. So there's a lot of threats here. And that's why I'm breaking it down the way that we're doing it, because after this, we're going to get into the lawsuit. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's take a break here for just a minute. We're going to get back to Roland. But I wanted to show y'all something a little bit earlier here, because this was the town hall here. So I want to show y'all somebody here. Okay. I just want you to see if y'all recognize anybody from this. Okay, here we go.
What are you feeling there in Phoenix, Arizona?
Here in Arizona, when it comes to COVID, we've been pretty relaxed about that. That's just our libertarian leanings. Really, the thing to pay attention to is our GOP at the state level. We're starting to see a lot of the infighting and a lot of the questions of which direction are we going to go in as a party. So watching the Republican Party there and kind of their talking points is going to be pretty interesting as far as moving forward.
And Braylon, where are you as we speak right now?
Well, I am in Kent, Ohio, but before I say my answer, I just want to say to Ali and Robert and to you, thank you guys for your kindness, your graciousness, and everything. I know I don't have to be here, so the fact that I'm even here, I definitely appreciate it. So.
You were kind to say that, and you were kind to be here, and we're lucky to have you. So thank
you. Who is that, y'all?
For joining us today.
Who is that,
Ohio native.
y'all?
I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. So, there you go. There you go. So where is your head and where is your heart right now? What would make you feel good about Biden's first 100 days or his first year? What would tell you that things were on track?
I always say planning is one thing, execution is another. So I think the planning, the execution, and the engagement, I think those are going to be the three things that are going to really tell me that they're moving forward, because you can have an administration that does a lot of things, but if you're not engaging with the people that are going to be affected by the things that you do, it's not going to work. I have a quote that says, anybody be a present to entertain you. It takes somebody to be a gift to bless you. So we have to get past being entertaining in these temporary gifts and get to the point of being a gift where when we give something to somebody, it actually blesses them, not just for a moment, but for the actual experience of their life. So,
So I just want y'all to see that is your man, your friend, and family member, Braylon Lee here. I've been in media a very long time. So to everybody who thinks they know Braylon, I've been out here. Let me actually go to Clubhouse and read y'all off my bio of what I've actually done. You know, since people think they know me, think I disrespect women, think I'm special, this, that, and the third, all around the world, and Let me bring up my bio. Okay? So this is what I've done, okay? Nickelodeon, been on the Nick Sleepover Jam. Said goodbye to Mary Mary on WeTV. ABCnews.com, I was a part of ABC News on Campus 2016 election. iHeartMedia, made it at iHeartMedia at 26 years old with Code M Radio. NAB Radio Show was a radio show scholar where I got to go to the premier conference for radio broadcasting where my admission and registration fees were paid for. Everything else I had to do on my own. So I used my alma mater, Kent State University, to have my bags, shuttle, food, and plane ticket. The plane ticket I had was worth $500, but the dean of communication and information, where I was a CCI ambassador, they said, we'll just go for the school. They paid for a $500 round trip plane ticket. And I also was on the Steve Harvey Morning Show with Ask Steven, was also on Steve on Watch on Facebook. And right there is Braylon Lee. Okay? Okay. Look at how many views that's got. That's got 12K views. So to everybody that thinks they know me, I've been out here for a very long time. Check my receipts before you open up your mouth about me, okay? One more time. We're just going to go back just one more time, just in case, for the people in the back, okay?
We've been pretty relaxed about that. That's just our libertarian leanings. Really, the thing to pay attention to is our GOP at the state level. We've been pretty go in as a party as far as moving forward.
And Braylon, where are you as we speak right now?
Well, I
One more
am
time.
in Kent, Ohio, but before I say my answer, I just want to say to Ali and Robert and to you, thank you guys for your kindness, your graciousness, and everything. I know I don't have to be here, so the fact that I'm even here, I definitely appreciate it. So.
You were kind to say that, and you were kind to be here, and we're lucky to have you. So thank you for joining us today. I'm an Ohio native. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. So there you go. There you go. Braylon, so where is your head and where is your heart right now? What would make you feel good about Biden's first 100 days or his first year? What would tell you that things were on track?
I always say planning is one thing, execution is another. So I think the planning, the execution, and the engagement, I think those are going to be the three things that are going to really tell me that they're moving forward, because you can have an administration that does a lot of things, but if you're not engaging with the people that are going to be affected by the things that you do, it's not going to work. I have a quote that says, anybody be a gift, a present to entertain you. It takes somebody to be a gift to bless you. So we have to get past being entertaining in these temporary gifts and get to the point of being a gift where when we give something to somebody, it actually blesses them, not just for a moment, but for the actual experience of their life.
So that quote I've said many times before, anybody can be a president to entertain, but it takes somebody to be a gift to bless you. What I meant to say was we have to get out of these temporary presents of, ooh, we got a new community center. This looks nice. But the permanent gift should be a damn job, making $20, $30 an hour, where a family of four can actually live and make it. So your man, your friend, your family member, Braylon Lee, been out here for a long time. So that special person happened to be on a YouTube channel that got 12,000 views. And if you see the subscriber count there, 109,000 subscribers. Ask about me before you talk about me, okay? Let's roll on. So we're going to get back to Roland Martin, then we're going to get into this lawsuit. I just wanted to show that this story here is bigger than what y'all know. And I wanted to show my tie-in. I did not know any of what was happening with Carlos Watson before all this happened, okay? So let's get back to Uncle Roland Martin. We're live on tour. Like, comment, share, subscribe, everybody. Glad to have all you here.
Let me help y'all out with this one right here. You know how this story even blew up? When one of the co-conspirators was impersonating a YouTube executive on the phone, and the feds say they uncovered actual text messages that Carlos was sending to the guy while it was happening. Carlos later said, oh, he must have had a mental breakdown and he's left the company. Now, let me be perfectly clear. Can two things be correct at the same time? Absolutely. If you have prosecutors who are only going after people of color, that's a fundamental problem. But if you're doing some illegal shit, don't be trying to all of a sudden cloak yourself in blackness. Okay, OJ 2.0. In order
not OJ 2.0.
You did.
Oh Lord, not OJ 2.0.
Now he says, I'm gonna fight this whole thing. All right, I got you. And I see you, the lead defense attorney, all that sort of stuff along those lines. But here's what I know. Here's what I know as a black-owned media executive. Our numbers were real. We couldn't get media to do a story on us. The LA Times article that was done on us was the first one. It took us 3.5 years, almost 4 years, to get anybody to do any kind of story on us. Oh no, he was a darling. Let me be real clear with y'all. I ain't jealous of nobody. I'm not jealous of anybody who raised money, who gets media coverage, who's doing well. Nobody. Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, I don't actually care. It does not matter to me. What I don't appreciate is all of a sudden, you super brother number one. What I don't appreciate is all of a sudden, you trying to make it like a black thing to cover what your ass did. Now, yeah, you're gonna get your day in court, but to say that mistakes were made, okay, if mistakes were made, Carlos, why did your COO plead guilty? If mistakes were made, why did your chief of staff plead guilty? Folk don't plead guilty to mistakes. There's a difference between I made a mistake and I committed a crime. A mistake is, oh, I thought we had 1 million views on that video. A mistake is saying we had 1 million when instead we had 500,000. But when you purposely overstate audience to raise money, your ass committing crimes. And so as I sit here, I look at this website, and then all of a sudden he wants to bring all these other people in, Franklin Raines and this person and what happened to them? Did Michael Milken get convicted? Yep. There's some other white boys who've gotten convicted who served time in jail. There's some other people who've gotten convicted of securities fraud, of fraudulent activity on Wall Street. But don't sit here and then try to sit here and curry favor. And I'm seeing all these tweets. Hey, take a look at this, take a look at that. I'll be happy to take a look at these prosecutors and say, who are the folks that you're going after? And is it equal justice under law? But Carlos, ain't no way in hell I'm defending your ass. And you know I'm not gonna do that crap, because that's a bunch of BS. And his website is a bunch of BS, and so is that damn video. Somebody has to say it. And again, y'all, let me be real clear. I've never done business with Carlos and Ozy, but I tell you what did happen. After that New York Times article, when he didn't go on the Breakfast Club, he didn't go on the Breakfast Club before. He wasn't doing black media before he got in trouble. See, y'all, let me just go ahead and say it. I'm sick of black people who now want to come to black media when your ass is getting in trouble.
Welcome back. Tim, the SEO manager, is losing a ton of organic traffic to his main.
You don't call black-owned media when things are going well. You don't say, hey, how can we grow businesses together? How can we get advertising as a collective? No, you all on your own. But then when you get in trouble, now all of a sudden, you Mr. HBCU. Now all of a sudden, oh, you the man. Now all of a sudden, we can see you at all the NAACP and the Urban League functions. But where was your ass when things were going well? Where were you, Carlos, when you were kicking it with the white Silicon Valley investors and the folks in New York and in San Francisco? Come on, bro. Nah, I ain't gonna be silent on that, because it happens all too often. So let me tell y'all what happened. So when he went on the Breakfast Club and he got challenged when it questioned by Charlemagne and Envy, Angela Yee, they said, well, you know, will you go on Roland Martin's show? Sure. Do you think he has came on? I can show you text messages. Oh, no, he wasn't coming on here. I text him, and I text him. No. He wasn't. Carlos Watson was not coming on this show, y'all. But he did call me. And he said he didn't appreciate the things that I had to say and why did I take the position. Because I'm like, yo, ass, what's wrong? And then, y'all, at the end of the conversation, Carlos Watson literally gonna ask me, can we partner to go out and get advertising?
It's the creak in the chair for me. It's the creak in the chair for me. It's the creak in the chair for me.
But you actually thought after your ass was getting investigated. Now, this was before he got indicted. But he actually thought after he really thought after he was being investigated. I was gonna be like, yeah, sure, Carlos. Let's now band together like brothers and go take down some advertising money. In the words of Denzel in Remember the Titans, you must be outside your mind. I told him, hell no.
Not outside your mind.
Hell no, we ain't doing this. Folk, there are some people who are extra special, and they will say and do some stuff that's beyond outlandish, and that's crazy. And guess what, Carlos? You are going to have your day in court, and that's fine. You're going to have your day in court, and you have a right to be assumed innocent until pleading guilty.
Absolutely right.
But what's not going to happen is if you think for a second, I'm going to sit here and see you send this video. I mean, he been emailing people all day, y'all. Now, I didn't get one of the emails from him, but I got the email from somebody else. And I see the stuff being posted on Twitter, and I see all of this here. Now, what you are not going to do is try to all of a sudden make this out to be selective prosecution against Black entrepreneurs, Black media entrepreneurs. Because Carlos, there are Black-owned media owners who are out here busting our ass every single day to pay the bills. We are out here trying to increase our traffic. We're out here trying to cover the stories that matter. We're trying to actually do stuff where we care about the community. And what I am not going to do is be silent and watch someone try to pimp that in order to save them from going to federal prison. Now, bruh, you got the wrong one. And I have no problem saying everything that I'm saying, because all of this super Blackness that you now care about, where was it before you got in trouble?
There it is. There it is. There it is. So now, here are the court documents. Y'all, this is 75 pages. I'm going to skim through them as much as I can. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. This is what I do best. When I say I am a media nerd, I am a media nerd to infinity, beyond, and the multiverses upon multiverses, and upon multiverses that have not been discovered as of yet. This is what I do. So let's get into the lawsuit, y'all. So, y'all can see here, plaintiff Ozy Mia for its complaint against defendant Benjamin Smith Safer and BuzzFeed alleges as follows. At the core, this case is about defendant Benjamin Smith's willful misappropriation of Ozy trade secrets and knowing and direct violation of a mutual non-disclosure agreement to create, launch, operate, and lure investors and advertisers to, and ultimately generate significant revenue for his own media company, Safer. But this case is much more. It's also about total disregard for journalistic ethics and integrity, corporate greed, profiteering, and large-scale public deception, and willfully taken of another man's dream. In January 2022, after abruptly resigned from the New York Times, where he reported on, comment about, and investigate other media companies, Ben Smith announced that he, along with friend and former Bloomberg Media Group CEO Justin Smith, Chief Executive Officer Justin Smith, was starting their own global media company. The Smiths promised the public a new kind of media company that would be geared towards the 200 million college-educated people around the world, would focus on avoiding a perception of bias, and would not cater to social media. The Smiths will target the wealthy, socially conscious investment community. For Startup Capital, lead off with target subscription, email newsletter, and large-scale event division, and began developing a department devoted specifically to brand content in partnership with corporate advertisers. The Smiths laid out a vision that seemed new and never before seen, but in reality, Sephora was displaying an image of the media company that Carlos Watson had formed a decade earlier, Ozy. And it turns out that Ben Smith, while editor-in-chief of BuzzFeed, had got a months-long look into exactly how Ozy operated when BuzzFeed tried to buy it. Now listen, Carlos, I'm just going to be real with you, bro. That sounds like any other company. If Braylon Lee's virtual tour became an actual media company, you don't think we're not going to have subscription emails, newsletters about the daily pit stops of what's happening in social media? You don't think we're not going to create Braylon Lee's virtual tour live on tour? You don't think that we're not going to have a department with branded video content in partnership with corporate advertisers? You don't think that Braylon Lee's virtual tour, Behind the Dream, sponsored by Disney Dreamers Academy, where we sit down with former dreamers and talk to them about where they are now, you don't think that that will be a branded content thing? Every media company has done that, because that's the game. You need video, you need photo, you need audio, you need newsletters, you need TV shows, you need live events. Let's go with this damn website, because I promise you, I have not heard of Sephora before. I have not. Never heard of it. We're going to go to the website just to see if there is anything. Okay? We're going to go to the website just to see if there is anything at all. At all. So let me go to Sephora, because I have never heard of this website before. Never, ever. So, here we go. They launched it October 18th, 2022, 14 months ago, according to Google. So we're going to go. Here's the website here. Now, I'm looking. This is my first time looking at the website. This looks like a digital newspaper to me. I see, the headlines of the day on the left-hand side. I see, politics, Africa, tech. I see the newsletters there. So, this website is this website here, okay? They got different subcategories. Okay, now you're saying that this website right here, right? This website right here is the same as this website. What I noticed from this website, Carlos, is it is black. You have your thumbnails of your different TV shows, podcasts. Yours is definitely more colorful, right? Compared to this, I'm not seeing it. Because they have different categories on there. So you got politics, business, technology, net zero, Africa, security, media, and video. Those are their categories. Events and newsletters. Let's click on events. So the live journalism that Sephora does here. So you got the 2024 World Economy Summit, the State Made in America, China, and Global Business, Principles with Matches Dumpfer, Global State of Well-Being at Sephora Summit, Finding Common Ground on Artificial Intelligence, a Bicoastal Exchange, Securing the Digital Future. So to me, it seems like that Ozy Fest was a more general sense. Yes, I definitely will. Here's the thing. I saw that story And I'm gonna give y'all some context real quick. Thank you, Revelation. Much love to you as always. There was a story on Clubhouse, right, about Bishop T.D. Jakes' son-in-law being arrested for CM. Y'all can figure out what CM is. Child, and then you figure out what the M is. Me and a former fellow collaborator, as Lester would like to say, we were researching all day leading up to that. Y'all, that replay got over 200 views on Clubhouse, the social audio app. Let me see if I can find it. Y'all, there's over 200 pieces of content in the Onyx collab. When I tell y'all I work to work, I'm not even joking with y'all. I got to go all the way down. Look, here are all the all of those. All of those. You see all that? That's all content. That is all content. So for everybody saying, oh, you know, Braylon's this, Braylon's that. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Cool. I'm trying to find it because it's been a long. Oh, here it is. What does that say right there? Bishop T.D. Jakes' son-in-law arrested. 138 people. So here it is here. 59 replays. 59 people replayed that in Clubhouse. So when I tell y'all that I do work and my work is good work, and my good work is good work, I mean what the hell I say. The hardest work in the world is the work that no one sees. Like I said, ask about me before you talk about me. And I'm still scrolling back up, still scrolling back up. All that content. I'm still scrolling. Like I said, the last conversation we had about BET was about 310 people. 310 people. 310 people. Let me see if I can find it. BET plans to drop majority stakes. Let's see here. P. Diddy wants that. Oh, yeah, I remember doing that Love Is Blind room for sure. Tyler Perry is disrespected by BET. See, I wish they had a way where you can go in and search for your content, because trust me, y'all, it was a lot. Hang on, y'all. Let's see. So I remember doing it. Oh, here it is. Here. Looks like Tyler Perry won't be buying BET. What does that say, y'all? 317 people. 12 people replayed it. This conversation right here, y'all, it says 11 hours. I want you to look at that. 11 hours, 33 minutes. We started that room at 10 p.m. that night, did not end until 9:30 the next morning. I consistently make content, but I will cover that in due time because I believe you should get all the facts first before you open up your mouth. Just saying. But thank you, Phyllis Crawford. As always, love you, Valley. Appreciate you. Now, back on this. So, with that being said, so all these different events, Carlos, seem to me to be a elevated version slightly of Ozy, but Ozy Fest was more of a music and ideas. No problem. I always want to recognize everyone who is investing into me. I appreciate you as always. But it seems like Sephora is more focused on having events based on what's happening, where Ozy Fest to me seems like a overall festival of ideas happening in the culture, but not specific ideas in different event forms to me, because this website versus this, they're two completely different ones. Okay, so, but hey, you will have your day in court. I'm just giving the context here. In 2019, reckon the lawsuit. In 2019, 3 years before the Smiths announced the fur, BuzzFeed was in a financial free fall. Its corporate directors were restless after the company had racked up more than $150 million in losses the previous 3 years. BuzzFeed CEO Jonathan Parrish's first plan to appease the board was to task Ben Smith, whose news division was approaching $100 million in losses, with trying to sell his division to a deep-pocketed investor. Smith approached Peter Lotman, close advisor to Laurene Powell Jobs, the widow of Apple Steve Jobs, and a powerful new media investor and entrepreneur in her own right, but Smith would not close. Plan B to revive BuzzFeed fortune and by its way to profitability was a series of mergers with new media upstarts. But that too fell when BuzzStart could not close the deal with Group 9 Media over the summer of 2019, leaving Pateri in a state of desperation. So I'm going to show y'all Group 9 Media, because one thing we do over here is we give context. Okay, so here is Group 9 Media, okay? Here's Group 9 Media. So this was an American digital holding company. Thrill List, you guys have heard of that website, covers food, drink, and travel entertainment. Now this, which is a progressive social media news organization, The Dodo, which tells animals, and Seeker. Four brands, SourceFed, which was a YouTube channel by Philip DeFranco, and Pop Sugar, which is an entertainment website. This platform got bought out by Vox Media. Vox Media, which has Curbed. Curbed is a real estate and urban design website. SB Nation, which is a sports website. The Cut, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is a food website. The Verge, which is a technology website, and Vulture is an entertainment news website. So those are some of the so you see how interconnected this web is. Let's get back into this lawsuit. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We are live on tour talking about Carlos Watson and the Ben Smith and BuzzFeed lawsuit, just breaking it down for all of you. In contrast to BuzzFeed's freefall, 2019 was shaping up quite differently for Carlos Watson and his media venture Ozy, whereas BuzzFeed stock in trade was clickbait, memes, and pseudo news scoops. Ozy had figured out how to create original premium content. While BuzzFeed lived and died by its website traffic, Ozy figured out how to build a multi-platform brand with premium TV, digital video shows, award-winning podcasts, daily subscription newsletters, a unique awards program, the Ozy Genius Awards, and a flagship events business centered around Ozy Fest. Ozy's audience was more diverse, educated, and engaged than BuzzFeed's. Now, I will agree with that. On the premise of BuzzFeed was more known for their quizzes than anything else. You know what I mean? You know, those what Disney character are you, this, that, and the third. Okay, so I will give it at least that. Okay, so let's get back to this here. Ozy had learned to sell advertisers on big dollar long-term contracts, escaping BuzzFeed's short-term smaller ad deals, and Watson had figured out how to build some of that BuzzFeed fraternity lacked, a roster of supportive investors anchored by his friend of 20 plus years and Ozy investor Powell Jobs. In short, Ozy had figured out how to build what BuzzFeed was missing. Since the upstart promised BuzzFeed targeted Ozy for acquisition, in Ben's own words, Ozy was the solution to all Jonah's problems. Powell Jobs could buy out the rest of BuzzFeed's boards and invest in the company at an valuation inflated enough that would be easy for BuzzFeed in turn to buy Ozy for her. Jonah would be rid of the restless board members, that he have a new black president on the board, and among what media companies were increasingly sensitive to their lack of diversity. It was Ben Smith who, in August of 2019, initiated conversations between Watson and his counterpart at BuzzFeed, Paturi. Paturi was enamored with Ozy and Watson, and on September 16th, wrote Watson an email lauding Ozy as the missing piece and Watson as the missing leader. He entitled the email, "Let's do this, John Paturi, Jonah at BuzzFeed, 9/16, 2019." So that was September 16th at 8:21, 34 p.m. I'm guessing that's Eastern Standard Time. Carlos Watson at carlos@ozy.com. Now listen, I am not putting out any private information. This link here, I'm going to show you how easy this is because I am very transparent. This article right here, you see that link right there? That link right there. That link right there. Hang on. Can y'all even see it? Hang on. Can y'all even see it? Let me flip it. Let me flip it because I love being transparent here. This link right here. This link right here. A copy of the Ozy complaints available at this link. So you click that link there. It'll take you right there. I am not posting any private information. Okay, let's roll on. We transparent over here. Let's get it on cracking. Let's keep rolling on as we're live on tour. I'm just starting to search for a president of BuzzFeed to work with me to build the future of media. You'll be the best guy in the world for the job. Ozy's the missing piece, and you are the missing leader. On September 23rd, 2019, Ozy and BuzzFeed signed and executed a mutual non-disclosure agreement, mutual NDA, attached as Exhibit A, which expressly protected each company's proprietary information from not only disclosure from outside the acquisition process, but also from any whatsoever and any copying or reverse engineering, including by employees who gained access to the information, which of course included Ben Smith. So, BuzzFeed non-disclosure agreement not to make any use whatsoever at any time of proprietary information, not to copy or reverse engineer in any such proprietary information. Each party shall be responsible for any breach of confidentiality by its respective employees and agreements. The mutual NDA gave BuzzFeed Smith and other BuzzFeed executives access to Ozy's closely held playbook for success, including financial records, revenue streams, lists of investors and advertisers, audience and traffic metrics, unique methodologies and strategies for pitching investors and securing advertisers, past, present, and future content libraries. In short, BuzzFeed got exactly what they want, the entire playbook and operating manual for Ozy. Smith was more than the matchmaker for Paturi and Watson. He played a central role in the diligence process, as to be expected for someone who held significant equity in BuzzFeed. Among other things, Smith strategized with Paturi on how to approach Power Job and extracted information from Watson about Ozy's large advertising contracts and its business. So basically, what ended up happening was there was many conversations on how Ben Smith should approach Powell Jobs and extracted information from Watson about the contract. So Smith was trying to figure out how to go with Powell Jobs to be about Ozy going over to BuzzFeed in so many words, and then extracted information from Carlos Watson on how they get their advertising contracts and events business so BuzzFeed can make their own sauce using somebody else's cookbook. Follow along? We're live on tour. By the time BuzzFeed, Paturi, and Smith had looked under Ozy's hood and into its most coveted information, Paturi was convinced not only that he needed Ozy, but that he needed Watson to preside over the new BuzzFeed Ozy machine. And as I look at BuzzFeed and Ozy, I do think that BuzzFeed was more known for pop culture. There was a couple of articles from BuzzFeed News that did break the internet, but I think Ozy would have been that good balance of social commentary. And I'll put it to you like this: Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan, right? Robin Roberts, much love, Revelation 2023, and I appreciate you for always showing up. Love you, value, appreciate you. So Robin Roberts, she has a light, and she is the soul of GMA, where she can't do every interview. So that's why you need a Michael Strahan to cover everything else. That's why you need a George Stephanopoulos to cover politics, because you need different strengths. I think that Ozy and BuzzFeed would have been a powerful combination, personally. But as we see here, there, in the words of Optimus Prime, there is more than meets the eye. Let's roll on. Let's roll on. Let's roll on. We're live on tour. So it says here, beginning in October 2019 and until the end of January 2020, BuzzFeed made a series of escalating offers to buy Ozy, ultimately offering a package that included a $250 million purchase price, plus $30 million in specific incentives, the position of president, and a spot on the board of directors for Watson. So let's do math here, shall we? Let's do some damn math, okay? Okay, so $250 million plus $30 million of incentives. So y'all, that would be, hang on, let me get back to my studio here. That would be, you see that there? $280 million for Ozy Media. For one company, BuzzFeed would have paid that, okay? The deal also envisioned investments by and a spot on the board for Ozy's early supporter, Laureen Powell Jobs, who was the widow of Apple founder Steve Jobs. Watson was flattered, but decided that BuzzFeed needed Ozy more than Ozy needed BuzzFeed. Ozy was building something special. Watson was not ready to put his dream in the hands of someone else just yet, much less BuzzFeed. So he declined BuzzFeed's almost $300 million offer. Now, that's his right. That's his absolute right. I personally think that when you do have a company, partnerships are probably best, because partnerships, you can make a short-term or long-term. And sometimes before you get to the finals, you need to play in many games before you be declared a champion of your own division. You got to play in order to win, right? You don't just get to a game seven by being an NBA All-Star. No, you got to put in the work to get to the finals. So I understand Carlos's thinking, and I think Ozy, for what they had, could have been powerful. I mean, Ozy could have been brought into BET, right? Because they used to have BET News. That would have been amazing for Ozy Media. Oprah Winfrey Network could have been amazing. TV One could have been amazing. So what happened, like Roland Martin said, what happened to the other conversations with other media companies? Because BuzzFeed probably was not the only conversation, but BuzzFeed was the biggest one that gave y'all the most time, energy, and commitment for the day. So Watson's decision to turn down Patrini's offer was precedent. By summer of 2021, Ozy's average monthly audience exceeded 70 million across its multiple platforms. It boasted 5 premium newsletters, 12 TV shows, 10 podcasts. It was gearing up for its next Ozy Fest that fall. Ozy has closed more than 250 million in advertising deals since it turned down BuzzFeed's offer. Had partnered with Oprah Winfrey and Bill Gates on several projects. Oprah Winfrey, the OWN Network, Black Women Own the Conversation. Bill Gates, I don't know what project that was for, won an Emmy Award and won an Emmy Award for Black Women Own the Conversation, and was barreling toward a $2 billion valuation for its upcoming Series E financing round. So I think what Series E is, there's A, B, C, D, E, different levels of financing. So probably A is, hey, we're talking. B, okay, we're doing follow-up. C is this, D is this, E is that. Okay, so we are breaking this thing down. We have been on the highways and byways of what can be of this story for 2 hours, 35 minutes, and 2 seconds. Now, like, comment, share, subscribe. We are live on tour. Meanwhile, we're back in the lawsuit now. Meanwhile, days after Watson declined Patrici's last offer, Ben Smith announced that he would resign as BuzzFeed's editor-in-chief to become a media columnist at the New York Times, a decision that left many in the industry scratching their heads at the time. When Ben Smith left BuzzFeed, it was widely known that he had retained an equity stake in the company. In one of his earliest columns for the New York Times, Smith admitted this fact, but promised his readers that he would divest those options as quickly as I could, certainly by the end of the year 2020, where COVID-19 happened. Ben Smith would break those promises to his readers over and over again. In late September 2021, still a significant stakeholder in BuzzFeed and therefore in a position to benefit from the publication of negative articles about its media rivals, and with intimate knowledge from BuzzFeed's diligence about how real Ozy's traffic, revenue, and premium content were, Ben Smith used his media commerce platform, the New York Times, to publish a series of hit pieces that falsely accused of Ozy being the Theranos of media companies, with a fake product, no real odds, and minimal actual value. Among Ben Smith's many false, misleading claims about Ozy, one stood out as a absolute affront of basic journalistic ethics and integrity. In the first report of his series on Ozy, Smith told readers that he was peripherally involved in acquisition talks between the companies BuzzFeed and Ozy. That was a bold-faced lie. Smith was necessary to portray himself integral and directly involved in all the face of BuzzFeed efforts to buy Ozy. Ben Smith repeated, even elaborate on that same lie through his media victory lap. For example, when CNBC Andrew Ross Sorkin, that is the co-host on Squawk Box, which is a morning show on CNBC, brought up BuzzFeed attempted acquisition of Ozy and Smith's role in it, Smith squirmed and then lied again. Yeah, let's see. I wasn't. I was on the margins of that process. I didn't know a lot about it. I can't really speak to it. I left while I was happening. And so people stopped telling me things, and emphasis added. So that is Ben Smith right here. He appeared on October 4th of 2021 on Squawk Box. Ben Smith's false claims went viral and devastated Ozy. Within days, Ozy suspended operations. Almost all of its investors and advertisers shift, and Watson was left almost entirely alone to try to pick up pieces. Just over 2 months after Ben Smith's bombshell report, BuzzFeed kicked off its initial public offering via a special purpose acquisition company transaction, SPAC IPO. That's let me look up what IPO, intellectual property offer. Let me just make sure, because I could be completely wrong, y'all. We're live on tour. What is an IPO?
Here's the definition of IPO, short for initial public offering.
Initial public offering. There you go. So special purpose company acquisition, initial public offering, with Smith stock options in BuzzFeed intact on December 6th of 2021. BuzzFeed went public, and upon information and belief, Smith cashed in. The next month, armed with BuzzFeed's profits and everything that he learned about Ozy's secret playbook for launching, operating, generating revenue from a multi-platform and cross-functional media company, Ben Smith and his new partner, Justin Smith, and Safer. Within a year of its launch, Safer had raised over $30 million capital, including from affiliates of former Ozy investors, and was outpacing its revenue projections. Meanwhile, Watson, his family, and others who invested everything they had into Ozy have been left with nothing. Ozy brings its lawsuits to hold defendants Ben Smith and Safer accountable for the theft, misappropriation of Ozy trade secrets it spent years developing, implementing, and protecting, to hold BuzzFeed accountable for its breach of its express covenants to recoup the catastrophic damages caused by defendants' conduct and to recover the profits defendants have recapped as a direct result of the misconduct. So, basically, what the lawsuit is entailing is this, that Ben Smith used his resources, cashed in on a company that he was the editor-in-chief of their news division, took everything he had, robbed the bank, made his own bank using projections and the mapped out plans of another bank in so many terms, okay? Like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are live on tour here. Ozy Media, plaintiff Ozy Media Inc. is now an inactive multimedia, I meant to say multi-platform, but basically multimedia as well. News and entertainment company co-founded, majority owned by Emmy Award-winning journalist, entrepreneur, and former banker Carlos Watson. It's headquartered in California and incorporated in Delaware. Defended Benjamin Smith as a journalist and co-founder and editor-in-chief of Fur Inc., a global news organization. Smith is a resident of Brooklyn, New York. Defendant Fur is a global news organization founded by Defendant Smith and former Bloomberg Media Group CEO Justice Smith in January of 2022, launched in October 2022. Fur is headquartered and as principal place of business in New York and is incorporated in Delaware. Defendant BuzzFeed Inc. is an American internet media news entertainment company founded in 2006 by John Perterci, John S. Johnson III, and Kenneth Lanier. BuzzFeed is headquartered and is principal in its place in New York and is incorporated in Delaware. What's the deal with Delaware? Is that like the state where people go for entrepreneurship? Like, really? So then this is saying here, this court has original subject matter jurisdiction under 28 USC 133 1 because this action involves a claim arising from under the laws of the United States, the Defend Trade Secrets Acts of 2016, 18 USC 1836, DTSA, and supplemental jurisdiction under 28 USC 1367 because all the claims are so related to Ozy for violation of DTSA that they form a part of the same case of controversy. So basically it's saying that they have the right to do this because of the jurisdiction of New York and the ties of how deep this goes. So factual allegations. Watson, with the financial and moral support of his family, creates a genuine unicorn, black-owned media and news and entertainment company focused on directly engaging a diverse audience by delivering high quality content across multiple platforms. So raised in Miami by his educated parents and a graduate of Harvard with honors and of Stanford Law, where he was the editor of the Stanford Law Review, which is a very big deal and a very big publication there. And student government president Carlos Watson built a career succeeding across multiple industries and fields, from political organizer, helping Bill Clinton win Miami-Dade County, to management consultant at McKinsey & Company, from building 2 separate education companies of his own to fostering investments in education companies as the global head education investment banking at Goldman Sachs, and then as journalist and online personality at Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, Court TV, and BET. In 2012, with the idea in place that the U.S. media landscape had demanded a new and innovative approach, Watson moved back to the Bay Area to take care of his ailing mom. At her encouragement, with her help, he began drawing up a business plan for an innovative news and information company designed to attract diverse audiences and involve them ahead by profiling the new and next rising stars, new trends, and big ideas months or even years before they were typically profiled in the mainstream. As this plan started to gain momentum, Watson bumped into one of his former colleagues at Goldman Sachs, financial analyst Samir Rowe, and that is the person who impersonated a YouTube executive onto a call with Goldman Sachs. Watson and Rowe reconnected immediately. Their conversation eventually turned Watson and his mom thoughts on reimagining digital news and information. Over several more conversations, Watson and Rowe circled in a multi-platform digital media company that would deliver forward-thinking and largely ignored news and content to underserved generation of media consumers, educated, discerning, globally minded, and diverse. In those conversations, Watson and Rowe conceived and formed the basis of Ozy with the emotional financial support of Watson's own close-knit family and their own personal investment. Watson and Rowe set to establish the visionary media company that they conceived. Next, Watson focused on his ideal financial partners who would be for his vision. The name that immediately came to mind was his old business partner in the college prep space, Powell Jobs, a graduate of Wharton and Stanford Business School and a rising entrepreneur and financial strategist, shared Watson's vision for helping disadvantaged young people to find their path to success, and teamed up with him to form two such organizations: College Track, a pioneering nonprofit that helped college students prep for college, and Achievia College Prep Services, a company Watson later sold to Washington Post and Kaplan Inc. in 2002. Watson first floated the idea of his novel approach to Mia to Powell Jobs in 2012. Yet Powell Jobs almost saw immediately Powell Watson's idea and what Ozy could be. Powell Jobs, through her own socially conscious investment firm, Emerson Collective, became one of Ozy's earliest supporters and investors. What's more, they sat in her garden in Palo Alto. They brainstormed initial content, compelling partners, and the right team to make sure Ozy took off, along with Powell Jobs and the other major players in the media and tech investment space jumped on board and invested in Ozy. Before the end of summer 2013, Ozy had investment commitments from the legendary Michael Moe, veteran Silicon Valley law firm principal Larry Scarsey, chief Google legal officer David Drummond, and Chegg CEO Dan Rosrick. So Chegg is the textbook company, in addition to Powell Jobs Emerson Collective. So then Ozy launched multi-platform media business focused on delivering premium content to millions of people and secure substantial funding from prominent investors from a roster of major advertisers, content partnerships with the media establishment. So September 2013, Ozy Media officially launched and promised its audience that it would profile and deliver the new and next in politics, business, foreign and national affairs, technology, arts, and culture, meaning that Ozy's audience should expect cutting-edge stories that the mainstream media failed to cover, such profiles of the next rising stars, videos about the next hottest trends, interviewing high-profile politicians about leading issues of the day, and stories that present all sides of various issues, from early profile of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Trevor Noah to Aaron Judge to Amanda Gorman. Ozy delivered the new and next. When it launched, Ozy had just over a dozen full and part-time employees to freelancers to implement Watson's and Ralph's vision. In addition to transform the media landscape, Watson also made Ozy's mission to become the most diverse media company in existence. It more than accomplished this goal, nearly hiring 1,000 people, 90 of whom were women or people of color over the years, bringing different views and perspective across all divides. So with its diverse team in place, Ozy set out to build its innovative media model, creating multiple digital and live platforms, distribution channels to disseminate its content, developing, publishing cutting-edge riveting interviews, reports, podcasts, videos, award showcases, and find new innovative ways to reach and impact media consumers looking for news of free of polarizing blinders. So the newsletters, including daily newsletters of the breaking news of the day in politics, technology, foreign affairs, and pop culture. Ozy succeeded in reaching more than its target audience with the type and style of news and information it wanted. Ozy research showed more and more subscribers would come on board. I'm just kind of going through this because now we're kind of getting into the weeds of it. So I am recapping it all for you as much as I can, because we are almost at 3 hours live. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Glad to have all you here on tour. And do not worry, there will be timestamps for this video because this was quite a lot. But I wanted to break it down for you guys to show y'all that this is what I do, first of all, to show how special I am. And number 3, too, I think that this story will eventually be on YouTube. And so if I'm the first person to break this story for y'all, everybody will come to this to make their videos. So hashtag you're welcome. Or in the words of Maui, what can I say except you're welcome? And thank you. Streaming TV, cable TV, digital videos. Another critical piece of Ozy's business model was the creation and dissemination of high-quality video content through both streaming and traditional TV channels, as well as the burgeoning online digital market. One of Ozy's first forays into video content was the 2013 interview of former President Bill Clinton to discuss his thoughts and opinions of the rollout of the Affordable Care Act. The multi-part interview conducted by Watson himself garnered significant media coverage in its own right as a thought-provoking critique from former President, a Democrat himself, of the rollout of his party's landmark legislation. Clinton interview was the first step that ultimately lead to Ozy's decision to invest significant time and resources into developing TV, other serial video content. From there, Ozy will go to partner with trusted TV networks and online distributors such as PBS, A&E, the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, Global Winfrey Network, own Hulu, Amazon, as well to pioneer of using the idea of using YouTube as a platform for premium and not just user-generated original content. So in 2016, the Contenders 16 for 16 Ozy built out a robust TV and digital video portfolio that focused on real-world storytelling and bringing to light stories and issues that most other media outlets ignore. So the Contenders, Ozy's first branded series, aired by PBS, the BBC, and Apple TV, profiling presidential candidates for over the years across over 16 episodes. The Carlos Watson Show, Ozy's flagship talk show, broadcast by Amazon. There was a thing about Amazon that Amazon did not want a talk show originally because they were trying to figure out who they were in the unscripted space, and so there were some things with Amazon. But I am reading it as y'all are hearing it. So, broadcast by Amazon that showcase guests from President Barack Obama to cultural icon, TV star, supermodel Heidi Klum. Black Women Own the Conversation, a joint Ozy-owned TV series featuring intimate discussions between Black women from all walks of life about topics they rarely discuss openly in public. Breaking Big, an interview series on PBS and Amazon featuring a dozen of the most talented, innovative individuals of the day, recounting their most difficult, traumatic, and serendipitous turning points in their careers. Define Moments with Ozy, a series on Hulu featuring inspired stories from celebrities, business leaders, and public figures discuss the defining moments of their careers. Take on America, groundbreaking town hall series on PBS, exploring the drivers' opinions from different Americans across the country. The campaigns that made history, 2-hour special on the History Channel, highlights some of the most surprising, shocking political contests in U.S. history. Third Rail with Ozy, a weekly 30-minute debate show hosted and moderated by Watson, aired on PBS. Voices Magnify, a joint Ozy A&E short-form series spotlighting a wide range of people impacted change and overcoming challenges in their communities. All told, Ozy produced over a dozen original shows and series across 9 networks and online providers. And in 2020, the motherhood episode of its groundbreaking series, Black Women Own the Conversation, won an Emmy for Outstanding News Discussion and Analysis. Podcast. So there was a parallel to the growth of Ozy's growth in TV and digital broadcast space was the development and distribution of podcasts. For example, Ozy partnered with iHeartRadio for the long-running podcast series The Thread, which explored the wide-ranging history of interlocking lives and events. In partnership with the Ford Motor Company, Ozy created the Future of X Mobility, a podcast that explored industries and domains that would shape the world in 50 years. Ozy partnered with the BBC for a podcast featuring Watson and journalist Cat Kay, when Caddy met Carlos. All told, Ozy produced and distributed 10 original podcasts, hundreds of episodes, millions of downloads. 5 of the Ozy's first 10 podcasts will crack the Apple Top 100, and 2 the Thread and Flashback crack the Top 10. Ozy Fest. So unique to Ozy was the understanding of the power of people and bringing people together, literally live for live in-person events. Thus, 2016 Ozy Fest was born, an annual music and ideas festival in New York City Central Park that featured an incredibly diverse set of performers, presenters and performers across political, social, racial, ethnic, and cultural spectrum. So musicians like Common Her, Andrew Day, John Legend, culinary figures Ed Hom, Padma Lakshmi, Alex Jernitzky, and Marcus Somerson, comedians like Chelsea Handley, Issa Rae, Trevor Noah, Michael Che, literary figures like Salman Rushdie, Adam Grant, Roxanne Gay, athletes and entrepreneurs like and Alex Rodriguez, Jillian Michaels, Tony Gonzalez, feature speaker Glad Maxwell, Mark Cuban, Hillary Clinton. So it was a big deal. Before Ozy Fest 2019 was canceled by New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio because of heat concerns, tickets were sold and given away to teachers and students and first responders. Ozy expected over 100,000 attendees from more than 40 countries. In fact, before Mayor de Blasio's decision, New York City had agreed to move Ozy Fest to the Great Lawn Central Park for 2 days to accommodate the expected masses. Then I told you about the Genius Awards. It was debuted in 2015, inspired by Carlos's mother, longtime teacher, Dr. Rose Watson. During the 5 installments of the awards, Ozy awarded 50 geniuses from across colleges and campuses around the United States with up to $10,000 each, so they could pursue specific projects that they identified during the application process. The sponsors and partners included AT&T, JP Morgan, Chase, Discover, and GM. Judges include former Today Show anchor Katie Couric, Lorraine Powell Jobs, JP Morgan executive Christian McHugh, and former NPR chief Carl Mon. Notably, acclaimed poet 2021 presidential inauguration president Amanda Gorman won a Ozy Genius Award in 2017. So Ozy expanded its reach from a few thousand of Watson's friends and family to more than 50 million people. And so you see here the subscription newsletter had grown to over 5 million subscribers with a core open rate of 25%, more than 2.5 times the industry standard. And by 2021, this would be over 26 million. All told, between premium TV and digital video content, leading podcasts, social media accounts, website, festival attendees, and subscription email newsletters, by 2019, Ozy was reaching more than 50 million people. By 2021, that would exceed 70 million. So then 2013, Series A financing approximately $7 million from the same investors who had commit their support from the September launch, including Emerson Collective and Michael Moe's GSV Holdings. 2014, German media conglomerate Axel Springer became the largest investor, investing $20 million. January 2017, another $10 million in Series C financing led by Mo and GSV. By end of the year, had generated more than $12 million in gross revenue from advertising across multiple platforms. 2019 generated more than $30 million based on advertising sales that included sales from Discover, iHeartMedia, JP Morgan Chase, Netflix, Goldman Sachs, Salesforce, and Microsoft. That September, Ozy closed their final Part C finance round. Full Series C total around $35 million was led by Avenue Capital Group, co-founder of the Market Bucks, Mark Lazary. Mark Lazary has been on Squawk Box with Carlos Watson. Another key investor, Powell Jobs Emerson Collective, committed more than $12 million. In less than 6 years, Ozy was on the cusp of profitability, projected $9 million profit, over $40 million in 2022 before COVID struck. Ozy's conservative internal valuation rates was 225 to 300 million. So, as you can see here, just more and more and more intel on all this. BuzzFeed presented itself to venture capital investors as the flourishing enterprise, attracting an $850 million valuation for venture capitalists from venture capitalist Andreessen Horowitz and others in 2014. By 2016, NBC Universal had invested $400 million to the company, taking roughly a 1/3 stake in BuzzFeed. And the cracks begin to show, $50 to $70 million shortfall. 2018 will claim $307 million in revenue. January 2019, another round of layoffs, letting go near 20% of the newsroom. I'm just breezing through this show at this point. just being real with you. As former New York Times executive Jill Amerson recounted, Peter Latman saw the numbers. He was the top media advisor to Lorraine Powell Jobs, who business the Emerson Collective had acquired. The Atlantic Jobs had considered other media ventures too. And Latman, who once directed media coverage for the New York Times, knew Smith fairly well. BuzzFeed News operation, which Return has spun off as a separate division, might be interested in investment, either a minority stake or outright purchase. And Patricia wanted to dump his unprofitable and large 300+ employee news organization, since it was costly and the advertising picture grew darker and darker. The news division would probably sink a song for a song, and Patricia was interested. Soon, Lathan and Smith were meeting in a bar at the hip Norman Hotel, not far from Latman's office in the Tech Heart Manhattan. Madison Park, the talks were not Camille. Perry had come to deeply believe in the mission of BuzzFeed News and liked the prestige it brought to his brand. It had classed up BuzzFeed, and if when digital advertising bounced back, the company would be poised to benefit. In the words of Captain Smith, Tay reached the press, possibly through Kenner Lear, BuzzFeed chairman, who was connected to almost everyone in the media business. Rumors of jobs acquisition quickly spread, but nothing came of them. So then I already told y'all about Group 9, all that good jazz. Then right here, 2019, Smith directly reached out to Watson and Breakfast over breakfast in New York, talked about the mutual admiration for one another, future digital media. More importantly, Smith took Watson's temperature on a willingness to sell his company. Watson was hesitant to give the company he poured his blood, sweat, and tears, not to mention his family's hard-earned money into the previous 7 years, was also intrigued at the prospect of what more resources an already established platform could do to help Ozy grow. So then Ben Smith emailed Watson, Carlos will love to take you to lunch. I'm a big fan of what you're building. As far as interested people keep saying you are amazing, I should meet you. Let me know what works for you. So first thing Watson shared with Trin was Ozy's strategy and key notes of how we were thinking about the TV business. One specific Ozy process alluded to with Procuring under this gentleman's agreement that Ozy had developed show ideas based on what's data on what video series and podcast series form did well can be converted to successful TV shows, which reduces a network partner risk because Ozy's built-in digital audience. Then, of course, Procuring emailed Watson with the subject line, let's do this. I already told y'all about that. Basically a repeat. Ozy had long-established security measures to protect its trade secrets confidential. First, Ozy employees had signed individual confidentiality agreements, which required employees to hold Ozy's information in the strictest confidence and to take all precautions to prevent any unauthorized use and disclosure of company confidential information, not to use the company confidential information for any purpose whatsoever other than the benefit of the company. Obviously, all that. BuzzFeed and Ozy signed a mutual non-disclosure agreement, which forbids either company or any of its employees to disclose or use in any way whatsoever the information being shared during the acquisition. And here is all the acquisition there. BuzzFeed gets a months-long look under the hood of Ozy and like what they see. Beginning with a slide deck giving an overview of Ozy's business model, finances, revenue, current and future TV and podcast slate, and breakdown of Ozy Fest shared on September 26th, extending through January 2020. Ozy and his executive team gave BuzzFeed's executive team, Procuring and Ben Smith, included unprecedented access to Ozy's inner workings. Ozy's shared specific documents and met repeatedly with BuzzFeed's finance, marketing, editorial teams to outline Ozy's strategies for developing its TV, video, podcast content, generating revenue from its advertisers across all platforms. Oh, my Lord. And offerings, operating successful live events, pitching, securing investments for some of the most coveted media investors in the world, and Ozy's future prospects and opportunities. Specific documents include documents and information expressed with Procuring, Smith, and others were Ozy Studios Deal Playbook, a 70-page guide for building a successful TV studio, original video content business, including specific and detailed terms like strategies, revenue splits, advertising, rates of Ozy TV shows and Ozy specific phase approach, TV video expansion, strategy guides, operating procedure for subscription breakdown, email newsletters, Ozy Fest, pitch sheets, amendment, investment memos, Ozy finance sales and R spreadsheet, and Ozy evaluation analysis. For almost 2 months, the information shared between Ozy and BuzzFeed began preparing a joint file analysis and pitched it during the first half of November. After contributions from both sides for more than a month, BuzzFeed shared the last version of its analysis deck, BuzzFeed and Ozy Media for a New Era. BuzzFeed reveals the second motivation for initiating acquisition talk to listen Watson's help and insight to how to get Lorraine Powell jobs and Emerson Collective to invest in BuzzFeed. Among other detailed observations about what Ozy might bring to the table, the investment memo also acknowledged that BuzzFeed has struggled to develop premium content or to make progress at video production or events. In contrast to Ozy, despite a meaningful investment from NBC Comcast, BuzzFeed has not been able to translate its short-form video success, tasty videos, into quality TV franchises. So right here, Jonah is particularly interested in marrying Ozy's premium brand and multi-platform offering, TV festivals and podcasts with BuzzFeed's meaningful audience and millennials Gen Zers to 200 million plus daily to enrich both platforms. So there you go with that as well. But similarly, BuzzFeed is yet to make notable progress with podcasts and events business units. Ozy's 6 successful TV shows, 3 hit podcasts, and growing flagship festival, Ozy Fest, represent an ideal complement to BuzzFeed's existing portfolio, which would result in a combined entity, both breadth and depth across platforms. So you and Lorraine join the board, become my partners. Who will have the right ingredients to win the future leadership, capital, scale, diversification, and influence the works. BuzzFeed makes multiple offers to acquire Ozy, each more lucrative than the last, culminating to a $250 million offer, plus $30 million incentives, and the position of president of BuzzFeed for Watson. Both Watson and Ozy declined. That email at the end of October was from Patrick, the CEO of BuzzFeed. Ben Smith plays a central role throughout the acquisition process, which includes access to all of Ozy trade secrets before signing January 2020 in the foundation of the acquisition talks. So there you go. Just more of a repeat than anything else. After Watson and Ozy declined BuzzFeed's final offer, Ozy goes back to deliver high-quality content for its ever-growing audience. From January 2020 to September 2021, Ozy continued to deliver for its Fortune 100 advertisers such as GM, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Walmart, Eli Lilly, and TikTok, exceeding engagement by 30% on average for content associated with their brands. Several major advertisers and top ad agencies began not to just sign 7-figure but significant 8-figure deals, including advertiser juggernauts WPP, home to Coke, Target, and Ford, to home to P&G, Microsoft, Facebook, and Omnicom, home to Pepsi, Nissan, and Disney. So after several months of doing a deep dive into Ozy, Goldman struck a deal with Ozy, signed a term sheet in January 2021 to invest $40 million in the company. And then I told y'all about basically the call where Rao impersonated a YouTube executive. Ben Smith promised to sell his equity interest in BuzzFeed, reneges on that promise, and by 2021 stands to make millions from BuzzFeed's IPO, initial public offering, unless BuzzFeed continues to lose to its competitors. So this article here from Benjamin Peters: why hasn't the New York Times made Ben Smith sell his BuzzFeed options yet? It says here, more so, Ben Smith knew he had ethical obligation to get rid of his BuzzFeed stock options. He had publicly committed doing so from his earliest days at the time, saying in one article when he criticized the New Deal union, even though he had gone toe-to-toe with it the year before as part of BuzzFeed's management, he agreed to divest those options as quickly as he could. And certainly by the end of the year, but 2020 came and went. Ben Smith had done nothing to unload his BuzzFeed equity. Then in June 2021, BuzzFeed announced that it would go public via Special Purpose Acquisition Company, or SPAC, to be valued at $1.5 billion. Of course, Smith would still held his equity in BuzzFeed, and by September 2021, Smith was months away from realizing the windfall of BuzzFeed's initial public offering. So right here, Watson had kept in touch with Smith after he left BuzzFeed, even having him as a guest on Ozy's College Washington show in August of 2020. So right here on September 22nd, Ben Smith finally reached out to Watson, calling him, let him know that he was working on an article that would focus on an episode in which the Ozy co-founder and chief operating officer Samir Rao impersonated YouTube executive on a Goldman Sachs reference check earlier that year. The next day, Smith sent Watson a list of questions revealing that Rao's conduct on the Goldman reference check was not, in fact, the only focus of Smith's story. Instead, Smith called into question the legitimacy of the basic facts of Ozy, demanding a granular account of how Ozy arrived at 50 million unique monthly unique visitors and more than 20 million email newsletters. Subscribe Ben Smith for a demand more information on Ozy's premium television programs. Watson responded within 24 hours and stay up front. There was no misunderstanding that his answers were completely on the record. And so, regarding Smith's other questions, Watson likewise responded with on the record facts about Ozy. Here are all the facts here. As you guys can see, Ozy's audience measure was not based on the outdated method by simply adding up unique website visitors like ComScore does it, but instead Ozy measure its audience accurately across multiple platforms, including email newsletters, TV, and OTT content, social media, and podcasts. Ozy's audience, when accurately accounting for as many platforms of engagement as advertised, comprise more than 25 million monthly consumers for TV, OTT, and podcasts, more than 30 million on social media, 26 email newsletters. These numbers were in line with the audience data that Ozy provided to BuzzFeed and Smith, and Ozy's premium talk show on YouTube, which had 200 million views in its first year, more than any other premium daily talk show that Ozy was able to identify, was also now streaming on Amazon. Ben Smith of the New York Times disregarded the facts and published a hit piece about Ozy. On Sunday, September 26, 2021, the New York Times published Ben Smith's article, Goldman Sachs, Ozy Media, the $4 million conference call gone wrong. The article painfully unknowingly false, devastating picture of Ozy and Watson. And so Rao says a few years ago I was diagnosed with a severe untreated case of clinical depression, including to being prone to be bipolar and more extreme episodes. In the week leading up to the reference check episode, I had a change of medication that didn't go well, and what I experienced in the lead up to that fateful day, what peaked on that day, can be charitably described as a mental breakdown characterized by erratic behavior and meaningful mood swings that I tried to confine. So then Ben Smith also represents his central role in the BuzzFeed Ozy acquisition talks. Says here, one piece of information that had been included in the article, which would cause readers to seriously question the accuracy of Ben Smith's narrative, was the fact that just 2 years prior, Ben Smith had engaged a deep dive into Ozy's detailed financials, traffic metrics, engagement, revenue strategies, and come out on the other side ready to endorse acquisition for almost $30 million. So then you have all of these here. Ben's false claims called media firestorm as he published more articles attacking Ozy, goes on victory tour for Ozy's downfall. By that point, it says here, on September 30th, 2021, Ben Smith published another hit piece about Watson and Ozy, republishing much of the false narrative from the original article, now claiming Ozy had misled staff about and advertised about A&E's commitment to distribute the Collins Watson show. That story was likely false and misleading. A&E had in fact partnered with Ozy to broadcast the show, but A&E's timetable did not match the speed in which Ozy wanted to go to air. So Ozy decided to first launch on YouTube with A&E broadcast to follow. By that point, the damage was done. Mark Lazary resigned as the chairman of Ozy's board. Ron Conway returned his shares of Ozy. Ozy advertisers like Chevrolet, Walmart, Facebook, Target, Goldman Sachs suspended their advertising spending. Even journals like KK resigned, buying into Smith's narrative. So it just goes on and on. And then right there, we talked about that. I actually showed that clip. In June of 2021, BuzzFeed officially announced its plan to go public. A critical pitch to investors to enable the initial public offering was BuzzFeed's commitment and mission to generate cross-platform integration of compelling content to engage its audience and revenue. 6 months later, BuzzFeed went public at $1.5 billion valuation. The stock initially traded around 10, but within several days, BuzzFeed's stock price began to plummet. By December 10th, the stock price was down to 6. 2 years later, BuzzFeed's stock price was hovering around 30 cents a share, have been threatened with delisting from the NASDAQ. So there was a thing from TV One that they had to be on the NASDAQ in a certain range of a number. If you weren't in that range, then guess what? That means you would be off the NASDAQ. Covering it as quickly as I can, y'all, because I also got to get to the Onyx collab. I haven't made the room yet, but wanted to break this down for you all here. Armed with a windfall from the BuzzFeed IPO, out the way, Ben Smith partners with Bloomberg Media Group CEO Justice Smith create a new media company, Sephora. On January 16, 2022, they registered the name Sephora, a reference to the Greek term for bearer of a signal. It says here, this large new global audience, rising consumer frustration with legacy news platforms, increasingly diverse revenue streams for premium journalism, and the entrepreneurial talent gap in news media opened up a new space for some new. There's an opportunity to reimagine for quality global journalism. The town model that supports it for the most worldly odds in human history. So more information on all of that. And right here, some 4 flagship principles: business, tech, and climate. So the chief revenue officer said this: there's a trend toward orchestration amongst different revenue streams that can ultimately fuel and feed each other. Having a real strong, healthy subscriber revenue for business can fuel your advertising business. It can fuel your licensing business. It can fuel your event business. One of the superpowers starting from scratch is being able to work with a media company with cross-functional work. That's the bedrock of how we work. So just trying to make sure there's not anything I'm leaving out. I don't think they said how much Ben Smith had. Not that I can see. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, so it says here, upon information and belief, Smith, but BuzzFeed stock was not restricted. Smith showed his shares at the offset of BuzzFeed going stock for $1 million in profit. Okay, we got that. We're almost done, y'all. I can't believe I'm actually getting through this. Woody Woodpecker. In 2022, Sephora events were already a significant part of its business, account for 30% of revenue, was expected to increase in 2023. By May 2023, Sephora had booked more than $10 million revenue, split between advertising and events. For a year of its launch, Sephora claimed the events business was pacing above what it expected to have become central to doubling the total client base with the company launched with. So then here it is here. Smith and Sephora used Ozy's proprietary information, which Ben Smith acquired due to the diligence of Ozy, to design and implement Sephora's business model, pitch and acquire investors, and sign up advertisers. Some more information there. And I will drop the link so y'all can read it on your own time. First, Ozy took care of its employees. So basically, against all odds, Ozy was making a comeback. First, Ozy took care of its employees by agreeing to provide more than 1 million severance packages to most of its full-time employees who depart in the aftermath of the campaign. Then, once again, with the more financial support for his family, future strategic partners rebuilt Ozy's structure. Watson and his family liquidated assets and borrowed money to meet weekly payroll and finance of Ozy's day-to-day operations. With that, they rebuilt a network of more than 50 reporters, editors, producers, and videographers to put out new content again. In 2022, they put out a new dynamic show called Sneaker Fuse, cut edge podcast called She Rogues, and created the Drop newsletter, began winning back Fortune 500 companies as advertisers. And with the back end several prominent sponsors, Ozy put together the relaunch Ozy Fest, this time from where Watson's dream originally began, Miami, Florida. By February 2023, Ozy was building momentum. Then Sephora published its own story on Ozy's attempted comeback. Predictably, Sephora's article was another hit piece. For 2 weeks of Sephora's article, Ozy would come down crashing again. Then, basically, on February 21st, federal prosecutors operating out of Brooklyn, New York, Ben Smith's backyard, but roughly 3,000 miles from where Watson lives and Ozy was based, issued indictments, both Ozy and Watson on himself, largely parroting the false accusations levied in Ben Smith's report in fall of 2021. So then, basically, Carlos Watson gets arrested. Press release attacking Watson's character or reputation by calling Watson a con man who ran Ozy's criminal organization. Watson's motion to dismiss all charges is pending. Watson and Ozy are preparing to clear their names at a trial of May 2024. Once again, Watson and Ozy are preparing to clear their names at a trial May 2024. So Ben Smith was working on yet another takedown piece, a book that would focus on the rise and fall of digital media companies like BuzzFeed, Gawker, and of course Ozy. Ben Smith struck a deal with Penguin Publishing House and set forth to offer and publish what will become his book, Graphic Genius, Rivaling Delusion, the $1 billion race to go viral. So on May 2nd, 2023, Ben's traffic was released. Readers immediately understood the book to be an attack on Ozy Watson, with one reviewer describing Ozy charlatan Carlos Watson as one Smith scalps. That because the book republished the same false allegations about Ozy May 2020, fall 2021. Whew, I do not know how I'm doing this. We're on 60 of 70, y'all. We are almost there. Of course, Ben Smith knew Ozy had audience. It wasn't just the audience that the digital media companies typically had. It was not based on what website views of social media clickbait, rather it was based on broader and smarter platforms and methods directly engaging media consumers. Ozy had faith in his audience. He figured out how to accurately measure it. So it says here, that's why not only did he make an offer exceeding $250 million for Ozy, but he wanted to put Ozy at the helm of it. This was, again, Ben Smith knew what he published was false, but Cherry did not see through any of the schemes after he and Ben Smith and BuzzFeed got a detailed look of Ozy traffic and revenue. He knew that Ozy built something very real, which BuzzFeed wanted. So more as a direct result, Ben Smith's long con to take for himself and what Watson and his family had built. Ozy went from $2 billion company to nothing. First claim for relief. Ozy maintained trade secrets about how to develop, operate, and divert revenue from its secure capital to fund its unique platform, multi-platform cross-functional media company. Those trade secrets included the deal's playbook, strategies and guides, pitch sheets and memos, finances on spreadsheet, and evaluation analysis. Trade secrets are owned by Ozy. Trade secrets relate to Ozy's business, products, and services, which were used in or intended for use in interstate commerce. Ozy closely guarded, protected these trade secrets, among other means requiring all of its employees to sign confidentiality agreements. So Ben Smith is the first misappropriation and use of reverse engineering. Ozy trade secrets are intentional, knowing, willful, malicious, fraudulent, and done in wanting disregard of Ozy's rights. So Ben Smith and Ozy have unjustly enriched. Ben Smith and Ozy have been unjustly enriched by misappropriating using reverse engineering information from Ozy's trade secrets. So here's the misappropriation from trade secrets. So basically they're saying the playbook, the strategy guides, everything that I said, they used all that to get where they are. Breach of contract, the mutual NDA began on September 23rd, 2019. Ozy performed all of its obligation under the mutual NDA. And basically they're saying BuzzFeed did not hold up their end of the bargain. Prayer for relief. So wherefore plaintiff Ozy Media respectfully requests the court enter judgment in plaintiff's favor and defendants as follows. That the court award injunction relief for Benjamin Smith, so far any officers, agents, service employees, and all persons in active concert participation to be with them, be preliminary and permanently restrained and enjoined from misappropriating, disclosing Ozy's confidential information, trade secrets. Benjamin Smith is referred being enjoined from further access to any of Ozy's confidential information in their possession. Other appropriate injunction relief. Ozy requests that Ozy recover compensatory damages, subsequential damages, restitution, other compensation for the harm sustained by the virtue of defendant's wrongdoing, the amount to be established at trial. That Ben Smith and his firm be ordered to pay for and to account for and pay to all Ozy gains, profits, advantages derived by Ben Smith as for from above described wrongful acts of the court. Issue or multiplying otherwise enhancing any award under the DTSA. That the court award punitive damages, explanatory damages as permitted by statute, contract, and amount to be provided at trial. That Ozy recover any damages permitted by statute or contract. What is DTSA? Child, this was alive. You hear me? This was alive. What is DTSA?
According to
So that is Defend Trade Secrets Act, I think. Yeah, the defense under the Defense Trade Secrets Act, that Ozy recover any other damages permitted by statute or contract, that Ozy recovers attorney's fees and the cost of the suit herein authorized by the Defense Trade Secrets Act, agreed to in the September 23rd, 2019 mutual non-disclosure agreement, that Ozy recover pre-judgment and post-judgment interest at the maximum legal rate, such other further relief as the court may deem to be just and proper. And there is the law offices there. Exhibit A, the disclosure agreement. You see all of that there. Good Lord Jesus. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your recap. Y'all, we did it. We did it. Damn it, we did it. We went through the whole lawsuit essentially, and everything covering this in 3 hours, 25 minutes, and 34 seconds. Y'all, this has been such a live. I am tired. So I'm going to drop the link there because we do factual information over here, just in case y'all want to see it for yourself. And then this is the link to the article. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this live. It's been a long live. Like I said, the research, the detail, the articulation of trying to understand the beginning, the middle, and the end of this. And like I said, there will be a trial in May of 2024 where Carlos Watson and Ben Smith will have their day in court to be able to negotiate, get out, and testify to what they believe is true. There's always three sides of the truth: your side, their side, and the truth that's in the middle side. I'm going to just drop the link if anybody wants to come up. It's been a long live, but I always do that anyway, just to show y'all love, appreciation, and respect for what we do around here. So hopefully y'all been liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. This is a long live. This is a Lord Jesus. I'm tired. But you know what? I look at it like this. I think the fact that I've been able to do something that really is meaningful, and this is the very first video breaking down the lawsuit, the ins and outs, and everything else in between. So I dropped the link. The link is pinned if anybody wants to come up. I'm going to assume nobody wants to come up because, y'all, this has been live. We went through 75 pages live. So... Jesus, I'm going to turn off my camera now because I did everything. Ugh. Oh, Lord. And, y'all, the reason why I went on camera for that long is because I just want you to know truly, that when you are posting information like this, your face should be on it. Once again, your face should be on. Your face should be on it. Because at the beginning, middle, end of the day, you never know what a viral video can do. And what I hope that I've done tonight is to showcase to y'all that, for one, this is what I do. Number two, I am very thorough in my research. And number three as well, that truly, that the beginning, middle, and end of the day, that stories like this need to be told. And not every storyteller is going to be the same, but as long as there's truth, there is sincerity, and there is transparency, you can cover anything. So I hope I did Carlos Watson proud. I hope that I did Ben Smith proud, and the media industry proud with this story. Like I said, there is a personal connection to this. That I was on the Carlos Watson show for the inauguration after show. And I did show that in the clip. So yeah, so that is that. That is, I just felt like with this live, I just kind of had to show my soul a lot, because I wanted y'all to see that this was no games with me. That I was really serious about what I said, what I meant what I said. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the live. I'm going to assume nobody wants to come up, so I will read y'all the Daily Motivator, and then we will be on our way out of here. And do not worry, there will be timestamps. So what happens usually once a stream is done? It will process all of the words and everything else of the transcript, and then I go into Tammy AI. It gets the timestamps, and then you guys will be able to go through it on your own. And listen, y'all have permission. Content creators, if you want to get into this Carlos Watson story, you have my permission to use this live, and please do, because just know that this is a story that will be covered. And let me just show y'all once again. Actually, I don't mind sharing that. The very first story on Carlos today, okay? Of course, in the last hour, there hasn't been a video. But literally, the last time the Carlos Watson show has been up was 4 weeks ago, okay? So this is the first story here, the very first one, talking about Carlos Watson and the lawsuit. So with that being said, let's do it again. Right there. Just to put some respect on all this. And Roland Martin, you are free to use this as well, brother. I hope I did you proud as well. I'm certainly no Roland Martin. I'm certainly no Michael Baisden, but damn it, I am Braylon Lee. So with that being said, it is time for the Daily Motivator for today. Never tell your problems to anyone. 20% don't care, and the other 80% are glad that you have them. Ooh, I'm going to say that one more time. Never tell your problems to anyone. 20% don't care. The other 80% are glad that you have them. One more time. Never tell your problems to anyone. 20% don't care. The other 80% are glad that you have them. Lou Holtz, a very good quote there. That being said, it's time for the Daily Motivator for Thursday, December 21st, 2023. Know by being. Know not only with your mind and your senses, know by doing, know by living, know by being. Know with the whole of your existence, know through the integration of your experience with your spirit. Some things in life are far too important to be mediated through the pages of a book or pixels on a screen. Fully know the richness and the wonder by being an integral part of it all, rather. Don't settle for being 2 or 3 degrees removed from the essential values of life. Dive deeply into the experience of each moment as to directly know the miracle of being. Know love, beauty, and fulfillment by allowing them to manifest through your focus, commitment, and persistence. Know truth by putting it into action from moment to moment. Go beyond thoughts, feelings, sensations, and representations as valuable as they can be. Come to know the reality of your existence, of all existence, by doing, living, by being. Ralph Morrison. Well, I can tell you this. I know by being tonight, because this was a live. I'll tell you this. In order to be anything, you have to do the work, right? The hardest work is the work that no one ever sees. Like I said, the lawsuit came out today, and I did my work immediately. So knowing by being is doing the work. Number 2, give it everything you got. Give it everything you got. And know that who you are and whose you are and what you have produced will come back to you tenfold if you're doing what you're supposed to do from your soul. And the third thing and final thing, because y'all know I always do three things. Know love, beauty, and fulfillment by allowing them to manifest through your focus, commitment, persistence. Allow yourself to live in your greatness. And with that being said, it is now time for the best outro on YouTube. Know what you do and do what you know. Never say you weren't born special, because you were always born a blessing. Trust, you may not be where you want to be, but by the end of it, you'll be where you need to be. Do what you've been chosen to do. Why is one thing call yourself is another thing be chosen. One love, much love, all love. I have spent time with you. You have spent time with me. And hopefully by spending time together, we'll rise to be great together. Excuse me. Always remember where you're doing radio. Wait a minute. Know what you do and do what you know. Never say you weren't born special, because you were always born a blessing. Trust, you may not be where you want to be, but by the end of it, you'll be where you need to be. Do what you've been chosen to do. Why is one thing to call yourself is another thing to be chosen. One love, much love, all love. I have spent time with you. You have spent time with me. Hopefully, by spending time together, rise up to be great together. Always remember where you're doing radio, television, YouTube, live your best life, or just letting people know. People see it, but they just don't know. And you let them know who you are by not screaming the loudest, but speaking the most sound and letting your voice, your receipts, and your soul speak for themselves. Make sure the replay is not just for you to watch it, not just for you to listen to it, but for you to want to experience it again. I love you. I value, I embrace you all. I will see you real soon. In order to receive love, you got to give it. In order to receive love, you got to give it. In order to receive love, you got to give it. Wherever obstacles you have overcome, wherever successes you have achieved on this particular day, I am extremely proud of you. But if nobody else is proud of you, be proud of your damn self. Understand me? And also allow yourself to know that trouble don't last always. Do not allow the projections of others to dictate the reality that you're living. Do not let the projections of others determine the reality that you should live. Do not let the projection of others determine the reality that you should be living. There's too much content to produce. Everybody can be original, but at the beginning, middle, end of the day, in the words of Olmec from Legend of the Hidden Temple, the choices are yours alone. And the words of a great man, higher is weighing, low is available. But either way, we got to go on tour. Enjoy the fireworks for the day that was, for the day that's to come, and for the blessings that is on the way for you, me, and all of us. Y'all, I am going to try to do a virtual tour live tomorrow night, right back here at 6 p.m. I don't know how after this, because this was a damn live, but listen, it was needed. And don't worry, there will be timestamps on this video. I hope you guys have been enjoying the timestamps. By the way, shout out to Nikki News and Black Women in the Building. They comment on some of my videos today. And y'all, my YouTube studio, it blessed me today with some numbers. That's all I will say. One love, much love. Enjoy the fireworks. Good night, good people. Good night, good night, good night, good night.